welcome everyone to the Sci-Fi Queens podcast. Woo! Today we have actually a very special episode. We have sci-fi horror author Eric Williamson once again on the podcast. And we're going to be doing a special episode where we're going to be talking about his latest beautiful creation, When We Were the Voyage. And we're going to talk to a few of the people who were featured in the book, as well as some of the artists. We even have a special recorded message for the event today, which we'll listen to later. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so we're going to start by just saying, how are you, Eric? What's going on with you? How's your day?
My day is great, Nina. Thank you. I'm doing really great. I was looking forward to sitting down with you today and talking about When We Were the Voyage, and just getting a chance to. This is really exciting for me. I'm a little bit. I have a little bit of tummy flutters right now. Just the opportunity to meet some of my favorite people who had either opportunities to be in the book or have supported me on my creative journey, or have been collaborators with me. And it's truly an honor for me to have this opportunity to actually have FaceTime, which with individual readers or friends or fans or whatever, however you want to phrase it. So this is a really special moment for me.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to do this with you. And I mean, I enjoyed the When We Were the Voyage comic so much, and the graphic novel, because that is not a comic. That is a huge book. Oh, you can definitely get some weight training with that book going on. It's pretty heavy. And I enjoyed it so much that I wanted to bring everybody together, because I think it's so much fun to talk about it, to explore it, and just kind of feel and see what people think, because I know that when I read it and I got to my part and my epic death, it was so great to read. And it gives you this beautiful perspective on the book. And it truly is, it is a sci-fi horror, but it is a beautiful sci-fi horror. And if you haven't read it, what you're doing with your life? Get it together and read the book.
That's right.
I mean, can I be any clearer? Get it together. You need to get his book. That's just the bottom line. But we have Richard and Rob in our waiting room. I'm going to bring them in, and we're going to talk to them and just see how their view is on this very exciting graphic novel. So here we have Richard and Rob. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good. How's it going?
That's really awesome. Wow.
Thank you so much, guys.
It's funny how I feel starstruck. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. I mean, I'm blushing. My face is turning red.
It's a little red.
It's been a long time coming.
Sure.
This is sort of like a signing without being in person with a signing. You're meeting people who are reading and enjoying your books virtually. And
yes.
That's the beauty of yes, that's the beauty of a podcast. We can do this virtually. So Richard, you were the first one here, so we're going to start with you. First of all, tell us how you're doing today, and why did you agree to this?
Well, I'm great. I'm doing great. I've been kind of from the get-go, really, from the first ash can, so to the second one, and then have been following along, and just being sorry, my thing has disappeared, okay. But I'm sure you can still hear me. And it's just been great following Eric. Every time, one of my favorite things, of course, is just every time he sends something, he sends a personalized letter with it, and like that seems like such a small thing, but I love it. I mean, it's always great. It makes, like, I know he said he just felt starstruck. Of course, this is probably our first time. I've seen him. This is for first time seeing me. But we've been chatting a lot throughout the past couple of years. So it's just been really cool, and to literally be part of the voyage has been great. And I know you mentioned it, I don't want to get ahead, but I loved the way I quote unquote died. I actually didn't really technically die, but me and my dog Luna merged together into this chimeric beast that honestly I'm like, Eric nailed it, certainly.
Yes, he did. But we're gonna definitely get back to that. I want to know how Rob is doing and what brought Rob to say yes to this.
Hey, how's it going? So I think me and Richard have a very similar story. You can see my Eric Williamson short box I had to break out and put on display here.
That's so cool.
So I've been reading his work for a long time. I think it was on League of Comic Geeks. I saw so many people talking about Miscreant over here, and I was just captivated by everybody talking about it, the artwork, and I was like, who is this? I've never heard of that. Where's it coming from? And this is kind of my first experience really seeing indie passion, Eric is very passionate about everything that he's done. I haven't been on the comic book site in a while, but the only notifications I get are when he posts something. So it's always neat to see where he's going and how that travels along. But I love everything. He's got such a way of taking brutality and making it poetic and beautiful. So
yes, thank you.
And he writes.
I'm glad I'm not the only sicko who thinks that.
Exactly. But so it's just it's a weird blend that you don't see very often. You can see his passion come through on it, and everything I've gotten has been great. Once I got when we were the Voyage in the mail, it was like Christmas morning. I'm skimming through the artwork, trying to see where Rob's mentions. I gotta see where I die. Spoiler alert! I had to look it up first. But the books, it's not only are they good, they're poetic, but they challenge me. Maybe I'm just not a smart guy, but the next common book I read aside from his is a dictionary, because I'm constantly
if we can read a good sci-fi and learn, why not?
Exactly. So
right.
So I'm here, man. I'm ready. It's exciting to get to talk to you. Not just message chat, for the first time after
For
a year.
Richard, when you started reading your portion and you started to see where it was going, especially with this latest beautiful book, which I keep next to me always. It's huge. And what was the first thing that came to your mind? I mean, because the scenes are so graphic. And for those that are not used to reading horror or sci-fi and horror as a genre that blends, it may be a bit much, right? I like it, but that's just me. When you read the merging, like you said earlier, of your dog and you, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
Oh man! So first, when Rob felt like Christmas, I got the book. I took it out immediately. I never even sat down. I just flipped to my page, and my girlfriend was sitting on the couch with Luna and then our other dog. And I read it entirely out loud, just first time. Just boom. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm a weirdo. Obviously, bad things were happening to me, but I had a huge smile on my face the whole time I was reading it out loud. And just again to repeat, if there's a way that I'm going to go out being like body horror merged with my dog to where we then become sort of this eternal chimera being where we can smell each other's senses and all this, there's worse ways to go. So I mean, I loved it. I guess I shouldn't say, like, the world is, the ocean is turning to meat and people are screaming and crying, and I'm just like laughing and joyous as I'm reading it. So it was a good time. And then just to go back, this is the special Luna cover that Eric did for me, and then the reference photo is the photo of Luna that's in the book. So
no.
I just, when he told me he put Luna in the book, I was like, I was over the roof. So it was great.
Yeah, that's something that I like about about Eric's writing, is that he manages to put these little bits of real into his story, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And you can see yourself in this.
Yes, the sincerity. I don't know. This is something I just wanted to say. Like, having talked to Eric, knowing how he is, the letters that he writes me, it's interesting. I find he's this incredible sincerity. He's the nicest guy. There's all this stuff. He's very honest. Like, I barely know him as a person, just as a fan and a writer, but I imagine he would, he'd give me $5 if it was the last $5. But then at the same time, he's going to go and write like this horrific, like about me. But that's totally okay, and I loved it, So I love everything.
Absolutely. So, Eric, what do you have to say about this?
I mean, gosh, it hits me in all the feels. My heart is just breaking in the best possible way. I love, you hit on some sentiments that are just really important to me, Richard. And it's just absolutely, it's a joy. I mean, blah, blah, blah. There. Okay. That's what I feel like. No. What's really, really nice to me and just so rewarding with this project was the ability to fold in readers and to bring people along with me in the voyage. I mean, the whole point of this project of when we were the voyage is the collective we, right? That royal we, all of us who are a part of it. And it really speaks to anyone. And though, yes, there are actual individuals like Rob and Richard here who are folded into the actual narrative itself, but at the same time, any other new person coming to this project is going to find that all of the named individuals, readers, followers, fans, backers, what have you, are all just representative of themselves. And I hope that everyone can find someone to identify with, because, we really span the globe. And we have people from Japan and people from the US and people from Africa and people from South America. And I try to really not only honor the cultures, but then honor the specific individuals that have been with me from the get-go, that have supported my journey, my personal voyage in making this book. And Richard was a really unique case because it was really cool. Richard got a custom cover, and he sent me a picture of his dog Luna, who he's clearly very fond of, and asked me if I could draw a picture of Luna as if she was part of the Voyage mythology. So I put her in like this space armor and stuff, and I drew her. He sent me the picture, and I put her in. I made her kind of look like she was wearing like a little harvester outfit. She's got these like big crab claws coming out of her back and stuff, and it was so awesome. And when I got to the part of bringing Richard into the narrative in his particular scene in Huntington Beach, with the
Carrion Surge.
Yes, Carrion Surge, the big meat monster. I wanted to continue that relationship with Richard that we've established. And I thought, if I asked him his permission, I'm like, are you okay with me bringing Luna into the book and dropping in a picture? And there's a picture of his dog in the book. And I don't see other creators taking that level of personal attention and handholding and wanting and appreciating their supporters and readers and friends. I'm proud to call you all friends. And to honor that relationship and fold them into the story. And this just worked so well. And I said, it might not have a very good outcome for your dog. And, I don't want you calling PETA on me or anything like that. So just want to make sure we're good. We're clear. Yes, I got permission. Good. Okay. Let the chaos begin. And so it was really great. And with Rob and with Richard and with the other individuals, I was able, through having little bits of relationships with them over the years now. I mean, this project has been in the works for multiple years. Little factoids that I hope I was able to bring in to honor our relationship and our friendship, and also then elevate the narrative and create an experience that is for everyone, but for those specific individuals, they get something so much more out of it. They're immortalized in this book permanently, right? So that's really cool. It's cool for me, and I appreciate your kind words, Richard.
Of course.
I've only got $4 in my pocket though. Just kidding.
Yours,
but they're all yours.
You know, Richard, it's funny that you say that, because that's the impression when I first spoke to Eric that I got, that he's this generous person, which contradicts the writing he does. How is someone so kind can create the horror, the sci-fi horror that he does? But I'm grateful that he does, because we get to enjoy that. Right.
Yes.
And we don't have to be scared that he's got, a basement full of bones. But now we're going to go over to Rob. Rob, when you read your portion, when you saw your epic death, what was coming to your mind? Like, were you, was it felt real? What happened to when you were reading this?
Yeah, like I said, it was almost like Christmas morning, one of those like dream comes true. I just told my mom I'd see my name in print one day, and here it is. But it's always bugs. I don't know why he knew that and or how he knew that. But it was. I remember reading it and going through, and it's been a while as I read it back when it first came out, and I think essentially there was like a group of insects that were coming down and using us to help build their colony. So we were getting essentially turned into brick and mortar for their structure, while still remaining our sentience and feeling. So being stuck in not only that, but everybody else trauma bonding together, holding the structure up. It was kind of a ballet of misery and agony that we got to share and go through. But yeah, it opens your eyes. Nobody's writing stuff like this either. So it comes from a level of creativity that you just don't see in the mainstream stuff. And I was not anywhere near expected, prepared, or had any idea of where he was going to go with it. So the fact that he did very similar creative things with, I don't even know how many other people, because as Nita said, like, I'm getting a workout just picking this book up and moving it. Yes. I was not honestly prepared for it to be as dense as it was. I was expecting like a normal comic book. He's got this thing jam packed. I mean, it's like it's a full on book. It's a book with great art, and like he said before, just real attention to detail to the fans and everybody that's been kind of supporting him the whole time. It was just eye-opening. I was very excited to get it, and I can only imagine how proud he was when it finally was published. You get that first one off the print, and I've been talking about this for years, and I can get it out to everybody. So
absolutely. Go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, yeah, for sure. When I finally got the actual hardcover, with the gold ribbon and the real nice saddle stitch, or not the saddle stitch, the Smythe binding, so it'll lay flat on your desk, and it's an artifact, and it's something that's going to outlast all of us, which is really cool. And I was really proud to be able to put like really good production value behind the actual book. But to Rob's point, the journey from some of those books, like you see behind him, of something that was just a little floppy, ash can comic at one point, and sort of the evolution of the story, and how it grew over time, over the years, and became so much more than what the original vision of it was. And then the support that the community was giving me and backers behind it, and that I was able to reward by bringing as many possible participants into the story and really elevate the narrative at the same time. I think ultimately delivered something that I think, well, I do know this. When I was packing up individually everybody's book, it was really a joy for me. Some people, you'll see posts of creators online, oh, I got to package all my book and send them out. I was like, no, this is awesome. I got the books from the printer. They looked great. I was so happy. I went in, I signed them all. They were all hand numbered because they were very limited quantity. And then I knew whose book everyone was. So it was really cool. I sat down and wrote everybody their own message like I enjoy doing. And it's a time for me to sort of bond with the reader who's not here. And in the anticipation of what they're going to, there we go. Yeah. In anticipation of the experience that they're going to have. And I knew, I knew when people got this, they didn't know what was coming for them. Not only in the content, but just in the size that it's, I mean, it's hard to see the scale of dimensions here, but like, this is like a regular trade paperback. This thing is, it is a deluxe hardcover edition. It's like 12 inches by 8 inches. It's a beast of a book. So I wish I could have been a fly on the wall in everybody's home when they got this package and they pulled it out. They're like, whoa, this is like 3.5 pounds. What is this? And opening it and then just seeing. And then I also, which was kind of fun, I shrink wrapped every book myself and I put their letter in the shrink wrap. So it was, something that you just, it wasn't just lying in the box, right? It was part of your personal package. And that, I had such a blast just doing that. And that just speaks to the joy I get out of delivering something that I think is an exceptional value and experience, hopefully great art too, and great pictures and a good story and good writing and all that. But just from a purchase standpoint, like buying a comic or buying a paperback or a graphic novel or whatever, I wanted it to really communicate the respect that I have for my readers and the value that they spent supporting me.
Well, I definitely was impressed when I got mine. I did not, like Rob and Richard, did not expect it to be so big.
Yeah.
And opening it I'd been carrying it from the door when it was delivered to me. I was like, what is this? And I knew this was the book, but I'm going, why is it so heavy? Because I didn't have this concept of what was happening here. And when I opened it and I saw how big and how beautiful and and I'm big on a good packaging. Like, I think that shows that you care for the person that's purchasing from you something. And I felt like there was just this attention to detail to that. And when I started reading it, that day it was nice and sunny outside, and suddenly it got dark and it started raining. And I said, I swear Eric is controlling the weather because now this is even scarier. And I think, like most of us, I went straight to my death, and then I went back and read the actual book, but I needed to find out what was going to happen. And I was in awe of it. I absolutely loved it. I thought that it was beautifully done. And I felt seen. I'm like, oh my God, this is a person who doesn't know me, face to face. We've spoken quite a bit on podcasts but I felt seen. I felt seen as I was dying. I felt seen. And I felt like, wow, he gets me. This is kind of stuff I would say. I would say this stuff. And I felt like he understood the readers. I felt like the reading, every time I read a different story, I felt like there was a revelation about these individuals, and it was so eye-opening because it was so detailed and beautiful. I love the graphics. I absolutely love the graphic. Sometimes with graphic novels, the graphic is so much that it takes away from the story. But this was so beautifully blended, and I love the colors. It was just excellent, excellently done. Now, some graphic novels are black and white. This is all full color. Was there a strategic reason for that, Eric?
So yeah, let me, for those of you who are jumped in and didn't know what we're talking about, just so When We Were the Voyage is a sci-fi cosmic horror illustrated novel, for lack of a better word. It's a giant beast of a book, but it's a little over 300 pages, and it is a story about the harvester and the feaster, who are basically these two alien invaders that have come to our universe, our planet, and in a nutshell are cosmic artists, let's say, and they use organic life as their ink, their paint, their fuel to inspire and spread cosmic dread. And while doing so, they also not only eviscerate the population, oftentimes quite brutally, but are also harsh critics of the cultures that they are obliterating, which comes through in the narrative. So it has some socio-political, cultural value to the story as well, besides just being entertaining horror and sci-fi. So to answer your question, Nita, about the artistic vision behind it, I wanted from the get-go, and it was part of the, even back with these initial tiny little 8-10 page ash cans, whatever they were, I wanted to be able to deliver a full novel experience, not just a sequential art comic book style. There was talk about doing it like that, but I had too much to say. That would have been just overwhelming, and I felt the medium needed to serve the story. And so it was the idea of a novel, but not just a book that you go pick up at the bookstore and just read, but I wanted to have beautiful, rich visuals because I'm a huge comic book fan. So how could I blend a novel with visuals? And in the ash cans, we did that by having alternating pages of full splash page of art, full page of text.
Yes.
But then I didn't feel, when I actually got to the full-on book, I really wanted it to be such an immersive experience. I really wanted every page to feel like there is something just delicious and juicy for your eyes to feast on. Not only beautiful, striking colors, great art, really cool graphic design and page layouts, a lot of Easter eggs spread out in the miscellanea around the book. But then to honor the artist contributors with their giant glorious splash pages and sort of create an experience as you move through the story into different vignettes and different chapters, that the art is sort of the bedrock for the story and lifts it. So you feel it's both complementary and also experiential at the same time.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I know that I felt like it was a full experience of getting the visual feed from it, as well as getting the reading from it. It was just it gave you a little bit from each sense, right? So I wanted to give the opportunity for Rob and Richard, if you had one question that you could ask Eric, and we'll start with Richard. What would that one question be? What would you want to know? You can go first, Richard.
Let's see. I don't know. Is there like one moment that maybe happened in your life that like spawned the harvester feaster like idea? Like, or is that just general, like, Eric's life and this is your thesis that you've been developing over time? Or was it like a moment you were like, someone cut you off and you're like, you know what, cosmic people are coming from far away and they're going to destroy everything?
Probably a little bit of all of that, right? So is there a particular moment? You know what, not that I don't know that I have a particular like identifiable moment. I think part of the initial catalyst for the harvester and feaster was in my writing as a poet. I've often circled themes of self-actualization, self-awareness. Oh, good, he's gone. Then I can tell you what I really think about Richard. No, I'm just kidding. Now that Richard's gone, yes, there was a specific moment, and we're done. No,
Dog barking.
no, yeah. So in my creative writing, I kind of circle themes of desolation, despair, abandonment, and issues of sort of self-actualization and self-realization. And I've also just always been a huge sci-fi geek, sci-fi fan. So I've always thought about first contact type of stories and things like that. And, I've read so much of the science fiction and, read stories where alien invaders were benevolent, or they were War of the World style aliens, or it's, like the three body solution, right? They're sort of the concept and idea of the dark forest. Like, and I really kind of like, after years of reading so much sci-fi, I was really chewing on what would it really be like if aliens came here, and what if those aliens happen to have an agenda that is tied into my own creative spirit as well. They're artists in a sense themselves. And it was a perfect foil for me to talk about some of my poetic nuances and challenges that I have with just growing up in a culture that's so obsessed with self-destruction, and that the harvester and feaster themselves sort of become these mirrors, these reflections of humanity in a way. And so they just, I guess, Richard, there wasn't a particular point. It was like just a natural evolution. And once I saw Chris Waterman, who did, I think it's in the background there in Rob's background, he did, or you might have had it, Richard. Yeah, Chris drew this picture when we had originally talked about doing this ash can. That solidified the harvester for me, and I immediately had like a visual identity attached to the sort of genesis of a being, and from there it just kind of took off, and it evolved and became its own beast, as you will. What's really fun about those two entities in the book is they really have distinct personalities, right? The harvester is very imperialistic and he's very logical, whereas the feaster is more carnal and more emotional. She's the one that you can just kind of imagine she's constantly screaming. Yeah, she's like she's always clawing at things, right? Where the harvester is dominion. He's like, he's righteous in his demeanor, and those just evolved as sort of this like yin yang singular cosmic force. And I had a blast letting those things just come out of me.
Excellent.
I hope that answers your question.
So Rob, what about you? Do you have a question, something that you wanted to ask Eric? That one question.
Yep. One I always like to ask really any creator is what was kind of the push going from reader to creator? I've been reading for a long time, and I get these great ideas that pop in my head. I'm like, you know what, that'd be great. And then I write them down, and then I never do anything with them, you know? So what was that like, the moment for you where you're like, you know what? No, I am going to do this. Like, this is a great idea and I want to share it. Where'd you, I guess, get that motivation, or was there any inspiration you got from like another author that said, I can be him, or I can do this better, or something like that?
I think there's a couple of different answers that I have to that question. One is that even from very young age, I really loved role playing. I really loved playing Dungeons and Dragons and Shadowrun and different games. And so I always loved just the craft of telling stories, right? Whether it was like going camping and just telling stories around a campfire, or hanging out with my friends late on a Friday night playing D&D till 2 a.m, just telling stories and imagining and creating worlds in our heads and creating experiences. So I've always loved just storytelling in general. And just being creative, I guess, at my core. But I waited so long, so many years. I'm not a young buck anymore. I'm, in my early 50s. And I waited a long time before I really got up the courage, really, to finally take my years of poetry and creative writing. And that's really what was the catalyst for Miscreant, was returning to one of my best friends from when I was a little kid, James Hunt, who is a fantastic artist. We used to pedal around on our Huffy bicycles around the neighborhood, playing G.I. Joe and games, and coming up and drawing comic books when we were 10, 11, 12 on our parents' dining tables. And then as life happens, we went apart and we came back together like in our 40s. And we said, remember those books we created when we were a little kid? Let's do it for real. And let's go back to that. And he has turned into a fantastic, lauded artist. And so to be able to reconnect with him and create Miscreant, which was my first published anything, was really awesome. And it gave me the confidence. And one of the things that was really great about that first project, Rob, and why I encourage you to do it, to just do it, is that once I had that tangible item, that tangible comic in my hand, I felt so proud of the collaboration, just proud of the work. Whether it's good or bad is sort of irrelevant. It's your willingness to push aside your fear of failure and embrace your creative side.
Right.
There's always going to be someone that doesn't like your work. There's always going to be people that do like your work. So don't let those types of prejudices or fears or concerns be a barrier impasse to you, because once you release those floodgates, once that dam cracks, it breaks. And then you don't have to worry anymore. Now it's just going to come out. So one begat the next, and it afforded me the freedom and to, even at my age, to continue to grow and to experiment and to take all those years of harvested ideas and redirect them into something that, hopefully others will enjoy too.
Awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
But I'm
yes.
glad to hear that
idea.
you've got that creative drive and spirit in you. And feel free to reach out to me anytime. My email, my chat, my IM, whatever is always open to you guys. I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Sounds good. I'll bug you. Don't worry.
Yeah, do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Waters,
and
they
if
lift
you
all
do,
ships.
and if you do publish something, you need to let me know.
We're gonna be first
I
stop.
want to read it and let everybody know to go read it.
There we go.
That's right.
Listen, the
Awesome.
Sci-Fi Queen support in the authors all the way. Okay. All righty. So yeah, let's listen to Andrew's message and talk about it for a little bit.
Art here. Thank you for having me on to talk with you briefly about my excitement for When We Were the Voyage. This is a really cool book at the end of the day. And I've been excited to follow this from the earliest stages. I've gotten to know Eric over the last couple of years through the League of Comic Geeks, and he's really just gone out of his mind, and I think he lost it a little bit along the way, just to produce this in the first place. And it's been really unique. It's incredibly difficult to fathom what it means to create an entire universe, or to fathom how do you blur our world, our reality, with another. And that's kind of what he's done here. He has a unique writing style that blends prose and poetry together, and he has a great ability for not lowering his writing style just to placate the readership. He demands the readership come to his level, and I like that. It's why I took a shine to H.P. Lovecraft's writing in the first place. Not just because we were exploring horror and sci-fi themes wrapped in this flowery language, very loquacious, very articulate, but that it made you think about it long after you've left the material. And that's what Eric's books do for me. And especially with When We Were the Voyage, he's done this through a few different stages where the line between our reality and that reality gets ever thinner. We've seen two versions of the Ash Can for the first chapter. We've seen Grim Night Moon. There was a free comic book day. And I had a unique opportunity to be part of the trial test for a Dungeons & Dragons campaign entirely modeled on this. And my friends and I had a great time exploring that. So now the book is out, and I am just over the moon excited. But the challenge to this book is you need to approach it when you're ready to, because you know that it's going to eviscerate you from the first page through the last, if you ever even make it that far. I love that the book literally opens with all of the warnings in the world, every disclaimer about put it away, burn it, do anything you can to be rid of this book, because it will corrupt you, it will destroy you in the process. And that's kind of the appeal. It's a memento mori. Instead of having an entourage following me around to remind me that I am mortal, I can just carry this book with me, and I can flip through it anytime I need to. It's unique that my own mortality will be addressed inside that volume, and I have not read it yet. I've perused it very, very briefly when the book arrived, just to confirm it's there, but I haven't actually met my own demise yet. We'll get there. Eric, very proud of you, buddy. You did an awesome job here. This is incredible. And I'm going to be thinking about this for a really long time, because you've got a knack for hiding little puzzles and hidden messages throughout. And to me, that's really exciting. I want to be able to sit there and engage and interact with the book on a different level than passively sitting there feeling safe and cozy. Make me uncomfortable. Make me think differently about the world around me. That's how you do a good job. Take care. Bye-bye.
Awesome.
I agree with him 100%. You have a knack for placing little Easter eggs. You have a knack with making people feel what they're reading, and that's not easy to do. Is that something you feel that you've developed over time with experience in writing, or is that really a goal that you set out to do when you're writing?
I think for this book in particular, it sort of was a symptomatic of the fact that I had created so much and I had so much to say, and there's only so much that I can do with a sort of linear story. And
Yes.
so I am personally just a fan of puzzles and games and Easter eggs, and just like wrapping readers into the narrative themselves and nesting them within the book. It was an opportunity for me to utilize the medium in the way that best serves the reader's experience by elevating it from just being words on a page. I wanted not only the the art to look amazing, but then also for you to be rewarded by spending time with the book and finding all the little delicious little nuggets and details that are sort of either nested in the art itself or nested in the marginalia around the book. And even through the craft itself of the storytelling, you'll start to pick up and notice as you're reading through the book, there's a lot of repetition of certain images or certain phrases that are themselves building climactically towards those final endpoint chapters and beats that you may not have picked up on necessarily, other than, well, didn't Eric just mention something about rocks over here? Well, it's going to be important later,
exactly.
right? And so it builds this creative momentum. It also, by utilizing all of the real estate of a page, I was able to tell a layered story. So there is a main continuous linear narrative from page 1 to page 300 or whatever, right, of the story. But throughout, there are post-it note type of assets that are kind of staggered. And they're telling another story, but it's fragmented and it's told in pieces that reward you going back and looking at it from a different direction so that you can tackle the book head on like a steam train through a tunnel, or you can just pedal yourself backwards through the book and pick up a different beat and different experience. And it also rewards you just going and flipping open the book to any particular page, which I know people will do. They will, exactly like Rob and Richard said, the first thing they did was they went, where is my particular portion? Right?
Yeah, I did that, absolutely.
You're like, now I need to read that part. But then nested in that page, you've got this little green post-it note, and then there's like, well, wait a minute, it's a different font, it's a different structure. What is this saying? And so there was the ability to, I know it's a little long-winded answer, but it afforded me the ability to layer in a lot of additional content that would have not necessarily served the linear tale. Exactly. But complements by reading those little nuggets. Like there might be a little aside message, which is a conversation between the harvester and feaster about global warming or whatever, or environmental destruction. And it's a way for me to address what would an alien being think about Earth and how terrible we are to our planet.
Yeah.
But that didn't necessarily serve the story. But I wanted to be able to communicate the depth of thought that went into this entire story by giving you these insights from a sci-fi cosmic horror perspective that might make you as a reader think, wow, that's really effed up. And also it's really true. The harvester and feaster are like dropping some wisdom bombs in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
But not, but then I didn't have to be preachy about it. I didn't have to articulate maybe a sentiment that I might have. And not all of them are my sentiments. Don't read this book thinking it's Eric's soapbox, because that is not necessarily true. But it afforded me the opportunity to challenge myself as a creator by looking at humanity in a mirror and maybe challenging even the things that I'm scared to think about, whether it's about religion or sexuality or about environmental devastation or scientific apocalypse that we're on the verge of.
Absolutely. Now, Kent, and welcome, Kent, to the Sci-Fi Queens podcast. How are you doing?
I'm not a live person according to the book.
No, neither am I. I'm dead too, brother. I'm in
Hey, Jen.
Stavropol with the Klingons, okay? So I'm okay. How are you doing today? Before we begin, tell us how you're doing and what made you say yes to this podcast? I would love to
Good
know.
question.
I want to know this from everyone.
Well, in truth, I've known Eric for many, many years, and I knew he was a creative person, but I really had no idea to what extent until I started reading his other works, and really had no idea what was coming with this book at all. So, but no, I wanted to be here because I'm amazed and inspired by Eric. So.
Likewise, you see super fans coming up on here.
Oh boy.
So when you first received the book, tell me about the journey when you got the book, when you opened the package. Be as specific as you want to. Give us all the details, and tell us what
You're on
you
the
thought.
Yes.
You can.
I opened it and it was beautiful. I have it in my hands right now.
Yes.
And the first thing when I cracked it open was, fuck, that's a lot of words.
I love
I
it.
had to resist looking up some of the more beautiful choices of words in this book. I have a library, a lexicon that I run through when I have insomnia, and he's added a good 20 words to my list now. So, but it's an amazing idea. It really is. And I want to know two things from you, Eric.
Okay.
One is, who hurt you?
We all want to know that.
And the other is, what does it feel like to kill all your darlings?
Oh, joyous.
Yes. Before he answers that question, when you got the book and you opened it, did you go straight to your section? Did you read through it? What was your process?
I began by reading through it, and inevitably I skipped ahead to my part. Yes.
Wow. And when you read about how your life ended, that's real. Like, we are all going to die one day. And this book has given us an insight of a possible way to die, right? So talk to me, when you read this, what came to your mind? What fears, concerns, joy?
I've become a more spiritual person of late, and I deeply pray that my demise does not resemble this in any way, shape, or form. But I did always want to own a Tesla, so there could be worse things.
Exactly. Now you have great questions for Eric. Eric, we want to know who hurt you first and foremost.
Yeah, well, you would think that I am this broken, dark in a cave, barely appearing except to see my shadow and run back in type of person. But no, actually, this is not. The irony about When We Were the Voyage is it's not coming from a place of remorse, regret, despair, or rage, or anything like that, which you would think I must be extremely disturbed, especially with the insane introduction that I wrote, which is purposefully a wall of text, a literal wall of text, as a sort of barrier for you to even proceed in. This project really comes out of a place of joy, ironically enough. And as dark and as twisted as it might seem, it is one that was a playground for someone like me to be able to really just lean into my sci-fi love, to lean into my cosmic horror and horror trope love, and to really peel out pieces of all of the nostalgia and miscellanea of just growing up in the 80s and 90s, and really just take my love of all the genres and mash them together. And then, but at the same time, try to create it in a way that elevates the genres and elevates the experience, and lend my particular blend of poetic sensibility and my love of poetry and language and words, and wrap them into a story that feels and delivers something unique, something completely different, that is not just a passive experience of you sitting down with the book, reading the words, but to sort of make the reader be a reactive participant in the narrative journey, so that, you know, through the use of some clever like fourth wall breaks, or actually bringing my readers in and murdering them in the text, like through these techniques of elevating an experience beyond just reading a horror book, right? So was there a singular darkness where this came from? There wasn't. It is a piece of joy, and it is a sort of satirical work. It is a black comedy in the truest sense, right? It really pokes fun at, in a horrific wrapping, the flaws of the human race, the flaws in our relationships, the flaws in the way that we see the world, in hopes of sort of elucidating your vision, right? Providing you a different way of looking at things, and hopefully the harvester and feaster do that. What was the second question, Kent?
What's it feel like to kill your darlings? But I want to.
Oh, yes.
Yes. We all want to know how it felt for you to kill us, because we all know we are your favorites.
That's right.
So
Yes.
really rude.
So I've known Kent for many, many years, and we met a long time ago, and we've stayed in touch intermittently over the years, but he's always been a really great and loyal supporter of my work. And so it's such a joy, first of all, to see you again, Kent. It's been way far too long since the Santa Barbara days. Right. And but you look fantastic, friend. Thank you. But it was a joy. It's a joy to kill my darlings. And I'll tell you why. Because I got to spend time crafting it in the hopes of your experience receiving it. And so each one is sort of a personalized dialogue, so to speak. And so like with Kent's in particular, and I hope you're okay me disclosing you work in computer programming and stuff, right? So Kent has a very technical background and experience, one of the ways we met. And so I was able to sort of tap into the little bits that I know that he loves. I know he loves Sandman. I know he loves comic books. I know he loves science fiction. I know he's very technical oriented. He's also a creative. He is a visionary. And so I was very particular when I wrote his little bit in also the Huntington Beach vignette, that I was able to kind of drop little personal Easter eggs just for Kent in there, which was awesome. And like with Nita in her scene in New York, right? I mean, obviously Nita is one of the sci-fi, she is the sci-fi queen. So how could I pull my experiences with Nita into the story to kind of deliver her an experience that'll be unique, always permanently memorable in her brain for years to come. And so murdering my darlings was a joy for me, because it was really like I was having a conversation with each other reader, and then being able to share that with everybody else in a way that anybody that picks up the book and reads the scene with Nita or reads the scene with Kent is going to be able to jump in Kent's shoes. It's not solely for Kent. It's for everybody else in that situation. And they're going to identify but you two are going to be able to say, no, it's really my story.
It's really
It's so true.
And that's cool.
Now, were you at all shocked, Kent, when you read it? Did you expect to die? Did you?
I knew I was going to die. I think
Okay.
that was leaked out pretty early on that I had the opportunity to be killed in this book, and I think another question for me was as I'm reading that and everything leading up to it. I mean, obviously Lovecraft came into mind, but I also thought about the Wild Cards books, the books edited by George R.R. Martin with the wild card virus. And if anybody could write the drawing the Black Queen, I think you've proven that you could. So I don't think shocked, but I was thrilled. I was thrilled with the grotesquerie. And talking of comedy, the Toronto section is one of my favorites. That was hysterical.
Oh yes, that was so funny, right?
What was hysterical to you, Ken? I have to ask because I think it was funny too.
Well, I mean, first of all, it's a comic convention, but it was people's quips as they went through it. The part in Australia as well. I'm not remembering a specific point, but yeah, it was certainly the way people responded to things and took their dissolution with a kind of tongue-in-cheek last response. So
yes.
And that was actually very surprising because as you're reading, you're like, oh, this is horror, and you're getting into it and you're reading it, and then you go, wait, what? I had to actually stop and go, I got to read this again because how sick am I? I want to laugh. So I'm like, wait, I missed something here. And I went over it again, but I'm going to go, no, this is actually just funny. So I'm glad someone else thought it was funny.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
I'm really glad to hear that, honestly, because I haven't really gotten a lot of feedback on the book. So this is just overwhelming me right now in the most glorious way possible. Hearing from you.
Oh, good. Am I the first one on here?
You're the third
You
person.
are the third.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Or fourth, because Andrew did a video.
Yeah, we did the video with Andrew. Yeah.
Okay. It's just hearing this feedback for the most part is all fresh and new, and it's something I've been eagerly anticipating. And it's great to hear that those particular moments, Kent, stood out for you, and that they were little fish hooks that caught you and snared you with some black comedy and humor, because there was a lot of joy in writing these sort of quips and these like last phrases as people are being liquefied or just being torn to shreds. And the last thing they think is, I think of the scene, I think it's in the Huntington Beach scene as well, with my friend Chris, who is a graphic designer, right? And he's like, has a scene, this really grotesque scene where he sort of merges with his bicycle, and he's like rushing to deliver a project to a client, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, Kent. Yeah. And the last thing on his mind is like this is a client from hell kind of quip.
Yeah, the client was hell. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Literal hell.
And it was like these little sort of sprinklings of just dark humor that I felt when I was creating it lended a moment of levity amidst the grotesquerie. And a lot of the grotesquerie I actually find really beautiful in a way, personally, reading through it. While it might be describing something horrific that might be happening, I tried to lean into language to try to either viscerally titillate a different part of your register, or to evoke a visual that you might not necessarily think when someone gets their arm ripped off, right? You think, okay, there's some bone and some blood squirting out, but is there a way that I can use the power of poetry and language and words to make that much more of a visceral and visual experience, right? And not just to revolt the reader, but to Kent's point, to add to their lexicon of words. And
for sure.
It's interesting, and this is something I'll share, is when I was working on the final drafts of when we were the Voyage, I was really deep in reading a lot of Nabokov at the time. And so as I was reading Pale Fire and Lolita and some of his other works, I was really chewing on his language, and I was finding a lot of Nabokovian phraseology and words that I would jot off in my little journal. And so I would instill little pieces from Lovecraft, from Nabokov, from Philip K. Dick, from whomever, like little George R. R. Martin, right? Like whomever there were that I've collected in my journal, just little either singular words or phrases that have stood out to me to not only be an honorific to those authors, and to nest their works in mine as a sort of homage that maybe no one would notice but me, but in a way that elevated the experience overall.
And I think, of course, visceral is a very an apt word for all of this, right? It's nothing but viscera, just tons and tons of viscera.
Yeah,
that is definitely the perfect description for this novel.
Whole lot of viscera.
Yeah, it's a whole lot. Definitely.
Did you kill off anyone that didn't specifically request to be killed off?
Oh, well,
like just for the joy of it.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. There's a portion in chapter 3 where I basically, go after. It's a tough chapter. Where I go after politicians and religious sects and whole swaths of different groups in
I was thinking
world.
more individuals, like people in your life that you really
like actual individuals themselves versus targeting just the general masses. Maybe. Yeah, there's a few people that I brought in as victims, so to speak, not out of any malicious intent, just that they were not expecting, but I wanted them to be a part of the story because they were a friend or a loved one or something, and I just wanted to honor them.
I was really hoping for something malicious, but that's all right. I respect your spirit.
I did not bring in any enemies into the book just so that I could eviscerate them and tag and then no, there weren't.
That's exactly how I envision you writing this story. Just every
now and then. A lot of that. There was a lot of
laugh.
There was absolutely a ton of that going on behind the scenes, but no, I didn't bring in anybody that I would not want to I wouldn't want to bring in someone that had done me wrong or that I don't care about, because I wouldn't want to see those people's names again anyways. Exactly. I wanted it to be representative of the people that I love in my life, and that's who are in it.
Yay.
Absolutely. Yes. But thank you, Kent, for being here, for participating.
My pleasure.
We appreciate that. I'm going to keep everybody posted as to when it will air, but you may take your leave.
Okay. It was lovely meeting you, Nita.
It was great meeting you.
Until next time.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Kent. It's great to see you, buddy. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was great.
Okay. Yes.
Oh,
now
Kent's
I
awesome.
have a question for you.
Okay.
Did you write any characters that were not real individuals? Or are all of the death scenes in each segment real individuals?
No, there are a lot of characters in there. They're not all real individuals, for sure. Especially when, like the scenes that take place in Africa and in Tokyo. While Tokyo did have a few actual individual readers that I know that either through the Kickstarter process were able to get a spot in the book, or were through their support of me through the journey.
Yeah.
There are actual characters that appear in the book that are not necessarily like a real person.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun because it allowed me then to really lean into one of the things that I really loved about the book was the research that I did, exploring the different countries and the different cultures. There's some scenes that take place in Europe, and so I was able to sort of, in the crafting and research of the book, to sort of explore the geography, because I wanted to get things accurate. I really wanted it to feel like if you're from Namibia, or if you're from Spain, that there's actually direct references to buildings, architecture, history from those countries, so that it really lends itself a sense of authenticity. And one of the ways, Nita, that I did that specifically too with those characters and in those countries was through utilizing their native languages in many cases.
Yes. Now, you had originally done a contest on, I believe, Instagram, where people won, and those were the individuals that showed up in that first when we were the Voyage. Now, I did notice, because I was imagining all of them being in this book. Not everybody, if I'm not mistaken, not everybody was featured in this book. How did you make the choice? Was it a hard choice to make?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're speaking of, okay, so I'll answer that question by taking a quick step back. So we originally released, Chris Waterman and myself released the and I actually, it was cool that both Rob and Richard earlier had copies of that original ash can, because I don't even have any more of them. But then we released a second version because it sold out, and that was this tiny little ash can of When We Are the Voyage, which was
I have that one too.
It was a sampling of the first idea of a draft of the first chapter. Then, as we started to get feedback and seeing if it was just a way for us to sort of test the waters to see if people would even like this idea, we went on and produced for Free Comic Book Day 2003 or 2004, I forgot what year it was. I did Whispers from the Voyage, which was a book where I did the art and I did the writing, and Jamie Ryan, who is this fantastic UK artist, he did a page in there where not only do we have Nita, right there, the Sci-Fi Queens, holding up a copy of the book. How meta is that? That is insane.
Yes.
We had some people, and this is the one where I had done the contest, and these people, some of these individuals, one of them might actually be Rob. Oh no, it's Tracy. These people had an opportunity to get into this book, which was cool because we did a really nice high quality version, and then I had little ones that I did as freebies that I went to my local comic book shop and just gave them out for free that people could get on Free Comic Book Day, which was cool. So the book was starting to iterate, right? It was coming out in stages and growing and growing and growing and growing. And so some of those people did not make it, to your point, into the final book, either because they just were not interested in being in it, right? Or, we lost touch, or just were not in communication anymore. And when I reached out to them and said, hey, did you want to be in it? They either were not available any longer, or just, ships in the night passing each other.
Exactly. Yeah, these things
and
happen.
which it happens. But what I tried to do was to provide a channel when we did the Kickstarter for When We Were the Voyage. I wanted to provide a channel for those people whom I didn't know to be able to be a part of that. I didn't want it to just be this book that's full of a bunch of family and friends.
Exactly.
And then also some people who had been in earlier iterations just didn't necessarily meet the cut at that particular time for whatever reason. They didn't want to be in it, or they couldn't be in it, or I wasn't able to communicate with them or whatever. And I wanted to be able to serve and honor the people that wanted to be a part of the voyage. So it made sense.
That's great. I mean, was it difficult though to streamline it that way? Was it fairly easy to go, okay, I can do it this way, this works?
Oh yeah,
Or
sure.
did you find yourself having doubts as to the choices that you made as to who was going in and what path to take with it?
No, not really. There's actually individuals in When We Are the Voyage who have maybe supported my artistic career in other avenues, who haven't even purchased a copy of the book or have a copy of the book, that probably don't even know they're in the book to this point. So, one day maybe they will. So anybody that I said that I gave my promise that they would be in the book, I kept my word always. And they are in there. Whether or not we are still in communication to this day or not, they have their foot in the door, and I honored that.
Exactly.
That's really important for me to keep my word in that respect. But then there were a lot of new people I met through the Kickstarter campaign, which was really awesome, who have gotten places in the book. And I had plenty of room, so that it was not like with the book I had a capacity. Like I could have just kept adding to it, but no, it was. But I didn't want to do anybody a disservice by giving them sort of, excuse my French, like a half-ass sort of treatment.
Yeah, absolutely, I get it.
Every supporter or reader if they were either through support prior or through paying to be a part of the campaign, to really get all of my creative juices in their particular scene.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that you did a great job in illustrating that and bringing these characters to life. Not just because as I was reading, I know I was reading about real people, but you brought their stories to life and their death scenes very vividly to life.
Yeah.
And now, what inspired you to choose this type of alien that you chose for this book?
I wanted something that, with the harvester and feaster. So for those that don't know, they are sort of this anthropomorphized cyber / insectoid alien being. But I wanted something that hit sort of all of those revulsion triggers. People are revolted by insects generally,
Yes.
And also sort of synthesis of organic and metallic oftentimes creates some revulsion. Think the Borg, right? You see them, you're kind of like, but
they're scary.
They're scary, right? So I wanted to have a combination of those elements, the insectoid with the cybernetic. But then you also later find out that they are not bound by a particular form. I'm kind of giving a little spoiler, but it's been out, so no spoilers. You come to find out that they really sort of, the harvester and feaster, they take the shape of something that is revolting or vile to the particular, race of beings that they are currently slaughtering, right? So
exactly.
There are some little Easter eggs in there and hints of prior civilizations that they have already destroyed. And it's almost like they're migrating through the universe when they come across Earth. And you get the sense that this has been going on for a long time. and they
Yes.
have been destroying civilizations, planets after planets after planets after planets, almost like Galactus going through space, just gobbling planets like popcorn, right? And so that they take this shape that is most revolting to us, but at the same time is freaking cool to look at. That's also, I wanted them to look really cool and to look sci-fi, to look alien and powerful. I wanted to tap into my love of comic books and science fiction and make them look really neat.
Yeah, and they're terrifying.
Yeah, neat and terrifying. And
Yeah.
it all sort of stemmed from Chris Waterman's original watercolor. And then Jamie Ryan came on board and sort of elevated them into this more amorphous creature underneath. There's scenes where their armor kind of slides off or splits, and you see sort of the blob of them come out, and they're like, just, it's like they're being contained and encased in this metal, but inside they're just a mess, right? And then Leo Colapietro just did this fantastic cover, and he just added one more touch of just cool aesthetic to these creatures.
Yes, absolutely. Now, you got some questions that were sent to you. Would you like to go over, I don't know how many questions they have, but maybe we can go over one or two of them.
Yeah, I just got, I wrote it down here. So let me turn this line on. Okay, so this first question comes from Slent, is his name, and he's from Denmark, I believe. Yes, really cool guy. And that's one thing that I really love about this book, is that we have gotten readers from all over the entire globe. I have readers that now are in Australia, in the UK, in Italy, in Denmark, in Germany, of course, the US, and South America, Puerto Rico. It was so great to be able to send this book to all these different parts of the world. So Slent asked, what inspired you to create When We Were the Voyage? So pretty much a open question. What inspired me to create it? Slent, let me tell you, When We Were the Voyage came from my love of science fiction and horror, as I mentioned earlier, but where it went was really into my love of poetic craft and language and love of language. And so really it is a work of art that allows me to take and share my love of language with others, and to deliver and to create something that's revolutionary. It might be too highfalutin of a word, but something unique and different than I've seen in the medium. So what inspired me to create When We Are the Voyage really was, and the inspiration was, how can I create something that I would want to read, right? That I haven't experienced, that I think is cool. So it was it's a really cool book that allowed me to pull out the stops and cram a lot of different elements into it that I love and that I appreciate and enjoy. I love beautiful, lyrical, visceral language. I love multi-layered storytelling. I always loved choose your own adventures when I was a kid. So I loved the idea of a book that breaks the fourth wall and pulls me into the narrative and lets me be a part of the story. So all of these are like different tiers of this giant cake that is When We Were the Voyage. And I just kept adding to it and then put a beautiful coating around it. And all that just was all the different inspiration behind the book was my ability to showcase my loves in this medium.
Well, we have another guest I'm going to bring her on in a moment. We have Dr. Isabel Baldrick. How are you? And welcome to the Sci-Fi Queens.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I am doing well. It's the end of the semester, so it's getting hectic, but all is good.
That's wonderful. Now, one question that I need to ask everybody that comes on here,
Of course.
is what inspired you to say yes to our invitation to this podcast today?
So in part, it was Eric. He obviously he also sent an email to everyone because he wanted a lot of people to participate. But I also appreciate that he reminded me because his email for some reason ended up in my junk mail. So, but all in all, when he personally asked me, and he's my friend, I was like, of course. Why wouldn't I? So I did everything, as quickly as I could because it was very close to the deadline. And I want to help, Eric in whatever I can. If he ever needs a hype woman, I'm her gal.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
You
You've
all
got
heard that.
cheerleaders. You got cheerleaders here. So, Isabel, I want to know what happened when you received the book. Did you go straight to your scene? Did you go straight to reading it through from the beginning to end? What was the process, and what is your feeling of this storyline?
So I'm very basic. I began in the beginning.
That's okay. Nothing wrong with reading from the beginning.
I started at the beginning. I know that Eric had told me that, hey, reach until the Spain section, and then if you want, you can throw the book on fire. But I was like, it's fine. He is the writer, he's the artist, shall we say? And so I wanted to see his vision as he intended it. So again, start from the very beginning, and I was like, oh, cool, this is really horrifying. This is fantastic. I love the eldritch horror. And once I started seeing pretty much oh, so I see what he meant by the Spain section. We're going through different countries, different cities, major cities. And I was like, oh, okay, I see how this is. So I reached the Spain section, and I was surprised by the use of Spanish. That really took me off guard in the best way possible. I'm Puerto Rican, in case you didn't know, Nita. So I was taken aback by it in the best way possible, and then I saw Isabel B, and I'm like, oh, that's me, and I'm like, oh, no, that is me. And when Eric had mentioned to me that it was, I believe, one of the more dire, more gruesome ways for someone to die, and also having a very bleak ending, I was like, oh, it's fine. And then I'm like, oh, I see what he meant now. So on the one hand, I was horrified in the best way possible, but on the other hand, I was also a smile on my face because being like, yeah, that's how I would probably die. That's how I would probably die in an invasion.
Oh no. Oh, that is amazing. Most of the people who've come on so far has jumped to their scene and then read to go back from the beginning, including myself. But you reading it step by step, did you feel a sense of anticipation of, oh my God, these deaths are so horrible. What's happening with mine? And you know what I mean? Did it kind of build it?
I definitely felt the anticipation, because then I was like, oh, so this is what he meant by Spain. And afterwards, I started noticing, oh, so here are the other people that have also supported the campaign. And, oh, I know these people from the League of Comic Geeks. So I was like, oh, I know these fellows. And again, all died in very varied and gruesome ways.
Yes.
But I don't know if this speaks to me, but I did notice also that, when I looked at the monster designs, through each page, what they were capable of doing. On the one hand, I was like, oh man, this is like horrible. This is very scary. Like everything looks bleak. But at the same time, I was like, this is great. I was enjoying it as it was going along. I don't think that this is me realizing that I have sadistic tendencies. I just think that I just really enjoyed Eric's literature, like the way that he writes, as well as like the artist's artwork as well. And the last thing I will say is that somewhere in the book, I don't know where I should have put a note on it, but I know that the book, or rather the Feaster and the Harvester, address the reader many times. And there was a point, it's like you're being witness to this. You're being like good in that you're witnessing this, and I think you might also be enjoying it a little bit, And I felt very called out.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, I kind of am. Even though I don't
Exactly. Exactly. One of the things I noticed is that I felt like when I was reading my part that, I'm like, okay, this is a conversation I would have. Did you feel that? Did you feel as you were reading yours that, oh, he captured my way of being so clearly?
Yes,
Yeah.
he did. And something to Eric's credit that he didn't know, but I will reveal that to him now, as well as to you, Nita, is that as far as horror, like I do love my body horror, but I have certain things that make me squeamish. And one of them is anything revolving eyes, whether that be like stabbing the eye, cutting the eye.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys have seen the Andalusian Dogs. It's a surrealist film. Like there's a famous scene where someone just takes like the utensil like for like shaving men like back in the day and just like cuts the eye open. Yeah.
Ooh, yes. Definitely
So-
kind of cringy.
So yeah, so Eric, congratulations. You inadvertently touch on my squeamish points. So kudos to you for that.
Yay. That's
Now,
awesome.
do you have any like particular question or something you would want to ask Eric today? Something you want to know? Maybe something about the book, about the storyline?
So just two questions. One of them is because I know that Eric, you have written other books in the same universe. I do. I will get to them. I promise you that the semester's ending. So I need to make sure that my kiddos are all right for the finals.
Yes, of
But
course.
my question. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I said yes, of course.
Oh, okay. My question, my first question, because I only have two. My first question is if there is more about both the Feaster and the Harvester, whether it's before they invade Earth or after the fact, because I don't know if we have rules for spoilers, but there is a bonus chapter that goes a little bit in more detail about someone who is more powerful than the Feaster and the Harvester.
Yeah. So, well, first off, Isabel, it's so finally awesome to be able to talk to you in person.
Same.
I'm a huge fan of Isabel, and congratulations on your doctorship.
Thank
Isabel
you.
recently just got her PhD in art history. She is just a phenomenal intellectual and artisan, and it's just she's just been such a fantastically loyal and wonderfully supportive reader and fan and friend. I'm happy to be able to call you my friend, Isabel. We chat on Instagram. Yes, for sure. We chat on Instagram from time to time, and Isabel is just such a lovely person, and it was a joy to be able to slide a needle into your eyeball. So when when Isabel, back to story, and she's been loyal from the beginning and just had expressed her love of the genres and the craft. I was just so excited to be able to find the right and unique scene for her. So I know I'm not answering your question directly. I'm kind of jumping back because some of the things you said I wanted to address because I really loved what you said. And the fact that I happened to stumble upon a particular skin crawl of yours, that just brings me so much joy. And it was such a joy to be able to. So Isabel has a scene in that takes place in one of the vignettes in Madrid with an entity called the Pain Harvester. And one of the things that I think scratched Isabel's itch for coolness was that every single monster or kaiju or entity really has its own sort of unique presentation. And this one in Madrid happens to be almost like just this ball of needles, right, so to speak. But it sort of comes down from the sky almost in a messianic sort of Messiah-like experience. And people are like, oh my God, is this the second coming? It's light and glory and trumpets. And then when it lands in the scene, it's just boom, and everybody is just punctured, right? And the idea behind the pain harvester is it is extracting all of your pain, almost in a Hellraiser Pinhead sort of way. It's feasting on the delicacy of your misery and pain in order to fuel and perpetuate this cycle of torment that is then being siphoned to the harvester and feaster. But what was really unique about this was because I knew Isabel her love of art and obviously art history. And since the Madrid and the Museo there has some fantastic works of art like Goya's Saturn Eating His Children and many others, I was like, well, how can I serve and honor Isabel by pulling in the actual art? And so this idea came to mind of animating the art. So like Saturn climbs out of his painting and starts eating people, right? The bronze statues start coming to life and just start impaling people. And so art becomes this enemy to the surrounding individuals, and in particular, Isabel. So it was really an opportunity to present her with a very unique experience because of her background, whereby which instead of Isabel, and spoilers completely free, Isabel, you can say whatever. Okay. It doesn't long enough. Anybody watching this, if anything, the spoilers will get them more excited.
Okay, exactly.
Is that and it was so fun to write, was the idea that because of Isabel's keen eye and depth love of art history, was not just to have her go down in a ball of mulch, but for instead that the harvester and feaster are in a way sort of recruiting talent. And they saw something unique in Isabel because of her discerning eye and skill, that her torment wouldn't end with her death. She would be salvaged and experience an eternity of terror, torment, and torture as their historian and artist aboard their ship. And so that was, I hope, something that just for you, Isabel, was just amongst all the other death and dismemberment, you had something quite unique in the book that others didn't. And I wanted to just reward our friendship with that and create something unique for you.
And I think you accomplished that.
I am honored to be the pincushion and also to be, I suppose, part of the palette on the ship.
That's right.
and to just like not die. I think the concept of die has either does not exist or it has passed to another plane of existence that it just warps into something else, if at all.
Oh
He
yeah, for
definitely
sure.
he definitely took our death scene, those of us who died, to a next level death scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's really cool about that too is that, and which was a perfect segue to the answering your question, Isabel, is that
Mhm.
because you are sort of a museum artifact piece yourself now aboard aboard their vessel, is that you are going to be able to experience both that before and after. And that was something I knew people were going to want to know when, as I was sort of putting the final wrappings on this, was that
Mhm.
what came before and what's going to happen after, right? I mean, it's a
Yes.
great linear story with lots of dimensions and layers and a lot of socio-political, cultural commentary sprinkled in. But what is ultimately, where did these cool monsters come from and where are they going? And so
Mhm.
what I thought was a unique tactic that I really hadn't seen before was I decided to write two prologues to the story, but I did not put them at the beginning of the story. I put them at the end,
Yes.
and I didn't label them as epilogues. And I did that strategically so that when you got to the end of the story, you were able to get at least a facet or glimmer into, on the humans' side, the hope and the aspiration and the vision of us going to the stars and how beautiful and wonderful that's going to be. Meanwhile, the harvester and feaster, what was their preface before getting to Earth? Then
Yeah.
there was, to your point, the bonus chapter, which sort of allowed me to plant the seeds for continued writing in the universe, which was to introduce a more powerful entity that was sort of sequestered aboard the ship the whole time and has been, you'll notice going back through the book, you'll notice it has also been breaking the fourth wall periodically alongside the harvester and feaster, but you may not have identified that it was a unique voice until later.
Yeah.
Which then invites the vision. When I had sat down, I know this is a long answer to your question. When I had sat down and sort of was road mapping the journey of this project, I was like, well, it starts and it ends, and I can just end there. But in case I ever want to revisit this universe in the future, let me plant the seeds of the ideas I had in that roadmap. And I loved this idea of, when we were the Voyage, continually upping the ante in future iterations. So we start with biological entities, and now we introduce, just on the exit of the story, that maybe these beings are going after divinity. And then what's the next layer over divinity? Maybe dimensional concepts like time or love. And just to continue to expand outside the dimensions until eventually maybe the harvester and feaster go directly at the writer. That would be cool.
I'd love that, honestly.
Exactly. Now you had another question, right?
Yes, it's just very brief.
No, go ahead. Absolutely. Please.
I just don't want to abuse the time.
No.
Time constraint.
We're good.
So my second question is more in terms of, I suppose, the biology, if we can call it that, of the harvester and the feaster, because they're humanoid in a way. They're bipedal. I would say that the feaster has more of a feminine physique than that of the harvester, which is more masculine. And knowing that these are eldritch beings, I am sure that, they have many ways of representing themselves. Maybe that's the way that they chose that time to present themselves, shall we say. So I'm very curious if the way that they are presented, if this is like their true forms, or is this how humans see them?
Ooh,
Great
that's
question.
an excellent question. Yes.
And it's interesting because it is there's just a very small portion in the prologue 2 and in chapter 2 during the scene where she's sort of Feaster's bathing. I say she because she has the feminine sort of physique, that both they sort of bookend this concept that outside of the metallic carapace, they are sort of amorphous entities that take the shape of the victim's domain. So, and I think in the second prologue we briefly mentioned the harvester is in the stage of pupating into this bipedal form. And the feaster, they're sort of almost like in a changing room, so to speak, in that scene, like they're preparing for Earth by redressing themselves into this new form. But my vision, to answer your question, is that they do not have necessarily a core form, that they take on this shape of the particular civilization that they're destroying, which allows them to not only kind of be in the skin, but also we tend as human beings to be scared of things that were most familiar to us. And so this can help aid them in feeling a bit more terrifying to their victims, especially that first group of astronauts at the beginning.
Yes.
But thank you so much, Dr. Baldrige, for being here and joining us. This has been so much fun having you here. And I love your perspective on the book, and your questions were so insightful. Thank you so much for participating with us today.
Thanks,
of course.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I was gonna say, don't be a stranger. Either you, Nita, or Eric. You can email me. So, or I suppose Eric, you also have my Instagram, so you can IG me or send me a Discord message. So, don't be a stranger. I'm more than happy to help with whatever insight I can give, or in a future occasion, should something like this happen.
Oh, absolutely. You are welcomed here at the Sci-Fi Queens. And the one question I'm asking everyone, and I'm going to ask you, is what encouraged you to say yes to joining us today in our podcast for The Gathering?
Just the personal email that Eric sent. I know that I saw a blurb somewhere about the podcast, but it kind of went to the wayside. Then Eric just reached out and say, "Hey, could you please join?" And I was extremely hesitant to join, just because this is Eric's show, not mine. So I don't want to take that from him.
No, but hey, we are here definitely talking all about Eric and his work. So talk to me about when you read the book. What did you think about it? How did you feel reading about yourself and seeing this work of art come to fruition?
Actually, to be totally honest, I'm truly not a fan of this. However, I do support Eric, and I could not pass up the opportunity to be part of the voyage, so to speak. And this started back in 2023, so I had to see it play out. So, I mean, I'm sorry if I if I like burst your bubble, but I'm not a fan.
No, it's quite all right.
However,
It's quite all right.
it's entertaining. I want to give it a once through, but I've read it and I'm good.
Absolutely
Excellent.
understood.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular question about the book to Eric that you really want to kind of delve into?
No, the Philadelphia Eagle jersey that you neglected to put fang marks in. You went directly for my shoulder without tearing the jersey. What was that about?
I mean, it was part of your torture, I have to say. There was no, I mean, I could have put you in your favorite jersey, your favorite fan tee, but I didn't want to make it fun for you, honestly, Tracy. So I knew you were going to have a miserable experience. So I was like, how can I make it worse for Tracy?
Exactly.
I know.
Exactly. There you go.
And you did.
You know what?
So,
You know what? I have to say this. One of the things I really, Tracy, you started off by saying this is my show, and it's not. It's really, that's why it's called When We Were the Voyage. And that's why I'm so glad that you came on today, even though you fulfill all of my curmudgeonly dreams by having a dislike or a not for me point of view with the book. That's really fantastic. I actually really love that. Tracy has just been a tremendous supporter of mine, and I'm super grateful for his support over the years. And I wanted to be able to give him a scene in the book that not only do I later find out he hated it for more reasons than partially because of his attire, but also one that sort of supports the character that I've come to love and grow a fondness for and develop a friendship with over the years. And, Tracy also showed up in Whispers from the Voyage, and he was just as get off my lawn personality then as he is now.
I love that.
So independent, self-published. There's no corporate backing. This is just my love of the craft and the art and putting it out there and hoping to identify and connect with readers to varying levels. Some people falling absolutely in love and some people maybe not so. And that's okay. And if I can say anything, it's the ability to put anybody, any artist willing to put their themselves out there without risk of failure, without risk of criticism, just to take it with a grain of salt. It's okay. Be creative. Don't be scared to put your creative art and your thoughts and your visions out there. It'll find its niche, it'll find its audience, and super fulfilling, and it's super empowering. And Tracy, even though it might not be his cup of tea, he continues to support independent creators, and that is a treasured, valued thing. And so I thank you, and I appreciate you, Tracy.
I mean, the one thing, who sends you a book with a handwritten note, thank you for the support? How can you not be supportive of that? So I appreciate that more than what anyone could possibly know. I mean, I've shown Eric photos. I actually have them framed and on my wall because that's how much pride I take in them.
Yeah, that moves my heart. He's got copies of When We're the Voyage, which he clearly did not like, on his wall in frames. So the irony there is so delicious. What's so beautiful is, that means the world to me. I remember when Tracy first sent me a picture of my book in a frame with the little note. I was like, what? That's impossible. I showed my wife and she's like, you've got a fan.
Yes.
What? What? But
absolutely.
And every single person, because I am an indie creator, every single person that supports me is a treasure, in my opinion. I'm not at the point of some big Marvel, DC published huge author where I don't have the time. And even if I ever got to that point, I still would make the time, because that connection persists beyond the book. It persists. I mean, Tracy's a perfect testament to it, right? It persists. It means something to connect to people. And that's why I started creating to begin with, was to be able to connect my ideas, my vision, my stories with others. That's why I was playing Dungeons and Dragons as a kid. That's why we'd sit around the campfire telling stories, was to be able to connect. So any way I can continue to perpetuate that. And if it's as simple as just writing a personal handwritten note, it bridges the gap, and it just shows that I care. And I really do.
Yes, and we really do appreciate you taking the time. And it was not easy for you to get on here today. You had a little bit of technical difficulty. So I really thank you personally for giving it a try and joining us today, and sharing your thoughts and perspective, because I think it's important to have that balance, like Eric says. And it really shows your dedication when you're having those technical issues and you still persist and you still move forward. And that's awesome. Thank you so much, Tracy.
I had to switch to my wife's laptop.
Oh, okay.
Still on Windows 10. I'm on Windows 11, so I think Windows 11 blew things up for me.
You sound much better now. Was there a question in there that you had before you go that you wanted to ask? Or
no, I just want to thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. And by the way, just stay off the lawn. That's all I ask.
We all would appreciate that. But thank you so much, Tracy. You can exit now. And I'm going to keep you guys. I'm going to keep you posted as to when this goes on. We do have another guest waiting in our waiting room, and we're going to bring him on. How are you doing? Welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Now, your name doesn't match. Your screen name there doesn't match. So tell us your name, so I know who is it that is on with us today.
My name's Robert. So,
Robert Moreno.
Where I met Eric was through League of Comic Geeks, and so Rift is my handle on there. So.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. And no worries.
It was
no worries. That is totally fine. I just wanted to know which guest was it that I was speaking to. But welcome to the Sci-Fi Queens. Thank you for doing this. And we're going to start with my usual question. Everyone is getting this question before we get into the nitty-gritty of it. What made you say yes to coming on today on this podcast?
Well, Eric asked me. So
that's all it takes.
Basically. I've been talking to him for a while on the application, and so I'd donated to a few Kickstarters that he had done, and so when he asked me, I was like, I mean, if not for the very fact I don't think we've ever talked in person, we've never had an exchange like this where I've seen some of his Instagram posts and stuff like that when I was still on Instagram. So. But we've never actually had an exchange in person, but yet, I was just listening to the last person, and, I've gotten his handwritten notes, which I'm always pretty blown away by, he's very, very sincere in, how he, communicates being grateful for you, taking your time and taking a little bit of your money and dedicating some stuff to his project. So I mean, basically all you had to do was ask, and I was like, I'll show up.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Now tell me about when you read the book. What are your thoughts when you read the portion that you participated in? And we all want to know about the death scenes and how you feel about these things.
This is a family show, right?
Yeah, you can curse. Don't worry.
Okay. I'm about to say, Eric, you're a sick fuck. Man, I was like, Jesus. It was more than what I thought it was going to be, honestly. It took me a little time to read it. I'm not a big prose reader. I read a lot of comic books. That's what, so I'm used to the 22-page pamphlet that you could breeze through. Even I have a stack of trade paperbacks that just stack up. So it took me a little time to get through it. But yeah, it is. I had listened to a bit of Tracy's, what he thought of it, and his kind of old man get off my lawn kind of. I mean, I really dug it. It is up my alley. It reminds me of a few things that I really do enjoy. But it's fucking relentless. You know what I mean? It is absolutely relentless. It just like right when you think it can't get more fucked up, he goes there. And I mean, by the time I got to the end, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who might read it, but I mean,
Go for it.
Yeah, basically, after they've destroyed all of existence, they're going for God. Like they're going straight to the source. So it was definitely an experience, and absolutely relentless, and about as ballsy a thing I've read in a long time. So I commend you for that. Like you're going to isolate a lot of readers, for sure. They're gonna. It's definitely not everybody's cuppa, but you got to admire how absolutely the vision of it is like he doesn't compromise at all. He doesn't compromise.
No, he does not.
I mean, once I got to the Anne Frank part towards the end, I was like, man, you're gonna piss some people off. But I can appreciate that. I'm the kind of person who can appreciate that. I mean, I really, really can. I like when people just go for it, and so it doesn't pull any punches. And so I think whether or not you're a fan of this type of fiction, I think you could appreciate its sincerity, and that it doesn't really completely care what you think about it. You know what I mean? Like, which is something you don't read a lot of. You know what I mean? And I think you only get that in the space where you have, independent creators that are willing to take risks and willing to challenge audiences. So, but I'm a big Hellraiser fan, and I'm a big Lovecraft fan. And so, it's kind of like where those two meet.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And when you read, when you got the book, did you go straight to you, or did you read it straight through?
No, I started reading it.
I
started reading it from the beginning. Yeah, I started reading it from the beginning, which after a while I started to realize, like, oh, you don't really, that's another cool. After a while I started reading, the bits where, he's going through the people that helped to fund the book, and I was able to start kind of picking and choosing where I wanted to read those parts. So it didn't have to necessarily be a linear experience, even though the linear experience is there. You know what I mean? Like you can read it from beginning to end. I mean, it's a very simple story. It's the destruction of all of us. So, but written in a very the descriptions in it are pretty wild. So
yeah, it definitely is.
It's really interesting. If you don't mind me jumping in real quick, Nita, I thought there was some really great stuff that Riff said that I wanted to riff on a little. One, the last thing you said, it's a very simple story. I want to comment on that because I thought that that's actually really beautiful that you just said that, because it is most stories are pretty simple in their when you strip them down to the core. It's what you build up around it sort of that adds the gravitas and the layers and the depth and the confluence of intersections of themes and ideas and elements that just create a cohesive whole that's just simply overwhelming in this case, and duplicitous, but at the same time also very honest. It is simplistic if you are linearly traveling from point A to point B. The story is succinct and to the point. It's how then can I cut and deflower this onion to be able to provide you all of these intersecting viewpoints and different experiences so that I can catalog a very simple story in a way that is multifaceted and also leaves you disrupted, but yet hopeful. And I think that there is a sort of satirical black comedy twist to the story.
Totally.
You walk away, and I mean, I read it. I go back and read it. Looking at my own thing, I go back and read it again, and I kind of laugh out loud because to me it's almost humorous in a way.
It's pretty funny at times, yeah.
And,
like it's definitely got the black humor.
You mentioned it, how we like are ratcheting it up, and every time you got to the next level, it's like, how far can you go? And I really loved what you said, Riff, because it piggybacks some of the previous people that have joined us in this podcast and their point of views, which was you uniquely said, you get the sense that my writing is one where I'm taking those risks without fear, and that I don't care. And that is exactly right. That as an artist, you cannot pigeonhole yourself by caring about how the art is going to be received, right? So you need to write and create with as much purity and emphasis in the creative that you can put into it. The irony is that, and we've spoken with some other folks, is that there is an element of I don't give an F with this book, which is awesome. And I loved it. I loved embracing that part of myself that was like, fuck it, I'm going to go all in. And if people love it, they love it. And if they don't, bye. But then there's the other part of me, the dichotomy of this story, which was really unique, was that also I did care tremendously when it came to the readers. When it came to the bits where I got to pull Rift and Nita into the story and give them their moment in the spotlight, that is where I took my fuck it attitude and just focused in like, how can I really honor Rift and just do something that's just going to really make him go, yeah, that was so messed up. I love it.
It was pretty funny.
So it was a balance. It was the balance of finding moments of insane levels of care in conjunction with the flip side of the coin, where I was just, I'm going to go for it. I mean, and I did. There are some parts that are rough reading, for sure. And you were right. If there are parts that probably people would read and they will never touch anything that says Eric Williamson again because of it. And that's fine. That was part of when We Were the Voyage's promise was from the beginning, right? Was that, and
Exactly.
even when we did those ash cans, Rift, at the beginning, it was the whole purpose of them was to see, is there an appetite for really poetic, intelligent, literary language combined with art that is grotesque and absurd and slightly black and satirical, and to see if there was an appetite for it. And we found out that there was, and that was what gave me the motivation and steam. And I have to tell you a really cool story, and Riff knows the story. He's heard me probably recap it before, but I have to share this with you now because Rift, we've never met face to face until right now, ever. So glad to see you, my friend.
It's great to see you too.
Yeah, first time you say that. But what Rift will forever have a place in my heart as a creator, and I'll tell you exactly why. He did something as cool as it is for me to write a personal note and for a reader to get it and for them to feel special. Rift did something. He did the reverse of that for me, and that, I mean, it's something I'll never forget. So the story, Nita, goes like this. So we released Chris Waterman and I released the ash can of When We Are the Voyage, our little amuse-bouche, if you will, to see if people liked this idea. And we put it out there on the League of Comic Geeks and social media and stuff, and saying, okay, people gonna buy our little stupid ash can? And Rift bought one. He took a risk. He's like, I don't know this indie guy. I'll buy his thing and give it a shot. And then he messaged me and was like, this is pretty dope. I like it. And he knows I'm an indie creator and we need all the help we can get, because I saw
Absolutely.
And he did the coolest thing, because I'll never forget. I was in Flagstaff with my family at Christmas time. We had dropped the ash can maybe a month or so before, and Rift had finally gotten his hands on it, and it was snowing outside. It was freezing cold, and I was outside, and it was snowing, and I was just taking this in, and I got this ding on my phone, and I looked down, and it was a message from Rift, and he was like, oh, I'm going to post this thing. Are you cool with it? And I was like, what are you going to do? And he's like, I want to pay it forward. I want to buy a copy of your ash can for somebody else on the league. And I was like, what? That's cool as hell. I love that.
That is excellent. I love that.
But who's ever done that? And the snow's coming down. I'm shivering, like exhale of frost. And I'm looking at my phone and I'm kind of shaking. And I was like, and then I was shaking truly, because I was like, whoa, this is so weird. This is really great. So Rift's like, can you do that? If I buy it for someone, can you ship it to them? I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, I could use the $8. So let me see. And so Rift's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to post that I'm doing this. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then he posts it. And then bing, I'm doing it too, was the first comment. I want to buy someone for someone else. And then it was, I think, Norse Fury, Andrew, was like, I want to do it too. I'm going to buy it for someone. Then the next person. And it started this little tiny snowball of people buying a copy of the ash can to give to someone else. And I was like, that is cool as hell. And it was a very small hill. We only rolled a little bit down, but we got a few more people exposed to this idea than I would ever have been able to do, because it was organic, it was real, it was natural, and it was because of Rift. And I thank you for that, sir.
You started a trend. You started a trend, a beautiful one, giving people this gift to read such a beautiful comic, such beautiful illustrations, such beautiful artwork. How does that make you feel that you started this?
I feel it. I feel very, very grateful, and it was very cool. I didn't expect that it was gonna like kind of snowball, you know. And actually, I think if Norse Fury, if that's his name, Andrew, I read it in the book. So I was like, oh, I think this is Norse. When I got to that part, but I thanked him, because I think he was the next one to go like, oh yeah, I'll do it too. And by the time it kept going, I think we got like probably about 10 people deep. But yeah, it was, you know, I work in, the quote unquote creative, you know, space. And so, I like to, if I can, you know, help people who are also creative and try and realize, you know, what their dreams are, you know what I mean? And so, you know, we all can't go out and, you know, finance a movie, or we all can't like finance, you know, a publishing venture, but we could all kind of do little things in our everyday lives that encourage people to move forward with their creative endeavors. And this was one of those things. He'd written something called Miscreant, which I really dug before.
Oh, it was excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, it was it was a poetry book with illustration, and it reminded me of like a lot of the zines that I had read, you know, when I was in high school. And so, you know, I kind of went from there. And so when he did that, you know, like when he did We Were the Voyage, the Ash Can, and it was, like I said, it was kind of up my alley. It's kind of things I enjoyed. I was like, oh yeah, you know, I mean, it doesn't cost a lot, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't, it's not, you know, I think it was like, how much was the Ash Can? Like $5, you know, $6, you know, it couldn't have been any more than $10, you know? So it's like, you know, it's not putting me out, you know what I mean? To do something for
exactly.
And so, and then, it was around Christmas time, so I get to give a gift to somebody,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that I don't know.
It was transformative. It did something, and I mean, that's why I have to thank you, and I have to wax sentimental about this a little bit, Riff, since I've got you face to face for the first time. You'll just have to take it. I mean, it was just the timing was kismet. It was fate, because I was at that particular moment, I was feeling a little like, just, probably feelings all independent creators have at the beginning. They're like, oh, no one gives a shit, and no one's gonna, like, I don't know how to do this. I know I'm not going to get the word out. No one's going to care. But it was that moment. It was just looking down. It just hit. It couldn't have, like, it was freaking comet flying across the sky probably at the same time. Like, all the stars were aligning.
Exactly.
There were.
Well, I'm glad I could do that for you.
It was cool. And it helped perpetuate all the rest of this other stuff. All of this other stuff was, all of this prismatic, all the stuff was in there, but it was that moment. I remember it vividly. Someone asked a question earlier, what was what inspired me to create? Well, when we were the Voyage. But if I was to take a bigger step back, what inspired me to continue and create this journey, it was probably that moment, Rift. That was the one that pushed me off the edge. I was standing there at the edge of the cliff, scared to jump, and you're like, you're going in the ravine, dude. And you threw me over the cliff. And
Well,
I love it. I love it. I love it. It was
Thank you.
awesome.
I appreciate that, Eric. I really do.
If you had a question that you could ask Eric, something that is something about the book or just a general curiosity that you have, what would that question be?
Well, I mean, there's the obvious one is, like, I have an idea of what it is because he sent me a little teaser, but like what he's got planned next, like I guess that's the big one. Because I mean, I know a little bit about it, and I know it is like one of my favorite Marvel characters. So I'm interested to see another take on this particular character, because it's a public domain character, so anybody can do anything they want with it. So yeah, that was like I guess the big, and then that was kind of I had been wondering about that, because I think I mentioned it, and the fact you mentioned you were doing it with Norse, I was like, oh, very cool, because I know he knows a lot about Norse mythology. Obviously his name on the league is Norse Fury, and he knows a lot about runes and runic lore, and I mean, I don't even know what you'd call it. Like, he knows about he knows the actual runic alphabet. So and I saw there were some allusions to that in what you sent me. So yeah, I guess that's kind of I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to jump ahead or anything like that.
No, it's fine.
Maybe you're waiting to do that at the end of the podcast.
No, it's totally fine. That's
what I wondered about. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's coming up next? So yeah, I had made these little flyers and had put them in a few of my more recent orders, and Rift had gotten, I think you had got, I had done like a 50% off sale or something recently, and I think you picked up something, and I put it in there, just testing my advertising skills. I don't know, but clearly, obviously it incited something, because you remember it. But yeah, so the next project I'm working on is called Thor. And I'm sure everybody knows who Thor is, the Norse god. And it is I'm really excited about this project. I've been working on it for many, many, many months now. And just recently, within the last couple months, brought on our friend from the league, Norse Fury, Andrew, who not only is an amazing sort of beta reader, because of his love of the mythology. And I've always loved the Thor, the Norse mythology. I've always been a huge mythology fan, whether it's Greek, Egyptian, Roman, Celtic, Norse. I've always loved mythology. It's part of my love of storytelling. But I've always had a particular fascination because I'm a huge comic book lover with Thor and Odin and Loki and just the whole Marvel universe. But I wanted to create something really unique, just like with When We Are the Voyage, which was something that was not just derivative of a copyrighted, trademarked property, but create something that really taps into the genuine lore, right? The real mythology. And so after months and months of reading all of the poetic eddas, the poetry eddas, the prose eddas, I mean, and a lot of the original source materials and documents, I really wanted to honor the true mythology of these characters, of Thor and Odin, Loki, Heimdall, Frigg, Freya, Tyr, all of them, and create something that was not just derivative of something else that's been created, of the guy in the cape with the hammer, and spinning it around and with lightning and thunder, because that's not what Thor is, really. It's when you break it down and you really get into the myth, it's so much more. There's so much more layers there. And so Norse is collaborating with me on this project. I'm calling him my rune smith, my rune crafter. Because he's got a really solid foundation with Elder Futhark, which was the old language of the symbols, as well as Old Norse. And so he's great as like a resource for, am I using this right? And he's like, no, that's not what that means. That's the wrong rune. And so we can fix it so that I can add embellishments that really honor the source material. But I just finished up. This is the beta review copy of the first book. It's 208 pages. This is the first book of 2. It's a 2-volume. It'll be probably coming in about 450 pages. It's an full illustrated novel of Thor. And so I just sent the beta review copy out of the first half of the duology to Norse and a few. I actually sent a copy of this to Jackson Crawford, who is a PhD in Norse mythology in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
And he's really famous in that space. And so I really want to hopefully get a little bit of credibility behind the depth of research that has gone on to this book. So it's going to be something spectacular.
That's amazing. Wow.
It is, we're combining that format of illustrated novel but we're doing something really unique with the design. You're the first person seeing this, guys, right now.
Cool.
Of full page art, full page, really just graphically intense. It'll be a beautiful book.
Yeah.
But you can see I'm using a really beautiful poetic prose delivery, similar to before we weren't anywhere. If you've happened to have read a copy of that. It's this sort of style that's very of a poetic prose blend, but it's the story of Thor set in sort of a contemporary setting. And the entire Norse mythology. And I would say it's a combination of adventure and fantasy, elements of romance, elements of mystery and suspense, to deliver you a really cool sort of Ragnarok tale that's nothing like anything you've experienced. Just like Voyage is something that's like, what the F? This is that version for Thor.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Oh, I'm looking forward to that then. Yeah. Cause with Voyage, it's definitely, I mean, with Voyage, it was like I said, and I know Norse he's a big Lovecraft fan too. It was like with Voyage, it was like when you read Lovecraft, it always gets to like a point in it where, he does something like, and I don't know if you've read a lot of what you've read, Nita, but you get to like a part with a Lovecraft story and then it's like, and then they saw the void and they lost their mind.
It's
right?
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. It's like, with Voyage, it's like Eric decided to write all those parts that Lovecraft would go like, and then you went crazy. You know what I mean? And he's like, I'm going to write all those parts that he would just kind of like. And so he basically filled the book with all of the parts where Lovecraft would be like, he'd kind of peace out, and he decided to write all of those parts and just keep writing them, and so because you get to those parts in a Lovecraft story and it's always like, it kind of just trails off.
Everybody goes mad. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody goes mad, everybody goes crazy. Here he really shows the crazy and all those parts, which I could really appreciate, you always wonder, like, well, what happens? It has to be awful, and so he shows you just how awful it got.
It was interesting, Riff, that you brought up specifically the Amsterdam scene. There's a scene towards the latter half of the book and you probably recall and remember, Riff, it experientially, and this was part plan but part happenstance. The book does sort of ratchet up as you're moving through the vignettes of different cities. And while there are a lot of cameos of people that you and I know, and there's those individuals, they also do speak to the everyman, because those people could be anyone, right? And so you get those, that, but it does sort of ratchet up. And then you get to the scene in Bogota, and it's like, what the heck is going on, right? And it's a rough scene. It was a fun scene to write, but it's a rough scene to read.
Oh, I can imagine writing this stuff is.
The language was like crazy, but I had a blast writing it. But it was like, how can I really offend everybody? Let me try. And it was
you gave it your best effort.
And that scene is really harsh. And the fun part about that is the Harvester and Feaster come down. I'm gonna spoil it. They come down during that Bogota scene, and they're like, "Whoa, that Visceraptor, like that's too much for us."
Yeah.
Like so it was fun to kind of play around with the sense of irony and twist that that I, as the writer, know that you are going to be reading this and you're going to be like, dude, why did you write that? That's going to turn off a lot of people. And then the Harvester and Feaster come down. They're like, dude, that's going to turn off a lot of people.
Yeah, they agree with you. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was like, well, yeah, so it happened. And sorry. But at the same time, when we get to the Amsterdam scene, there's an Anne Frank scene, which is really tough. And it was, there were parts in the book, some of the scenes in chapter 3 that were hard that I had to like stop and go, should I do that? Okay, I will. I'll put it in. And then there was parts that there was only a few parts that I actually pulled that I went too far, I felt, just because there are some cultural sensitivities that you just don't want to go to.
Oh, totally understandable. Yeah.
That I had to reel back a little bit because I had this idea in my mind, like, I'm going to go as far as I can. And then I was like, I did. And then I was like, no, let's reel that back just a tiny bit, because that's going to really paint a wrong picture. But there's the Anne Frank scene in Amsterdam. And the reason you mentioned that, and that's why I'm circling back to it, was I think that is done very judiciously and very poetically. And it is a rough little slice of that particular vignette, but the use of the language, the Dutch, the German, the element of what the giant cephalod type, like Cthulhian creature, Ceratix, that's tearing things apart and dismantling it's done in such a way that it's actually kind of poetic in a horrific
and a little cathartic too. There's a catharsis to it.
There was a little bit of like to it.
Yeah, that was very brave of you to go there, because that is definitely a sensitive topic. But I think you handled it well. I think that it fits the storyline. And I think that you gave it the honor and the respect that it deserved.
Totally.
That, and I want to ask you a question, if it's okay, Rift, is, so one of the things we really haven't really dove into this part of the pool is the sort of ancillary bits around the story. And because that is was something that I thought was really, when I go back to it, I really like a lot. Like, I like my work, but that part I really like in hindsight, the way that came out. And I'm not trying to bias your opinion, but the way that was ultimately delivered, all of the little sort of vignettes within a vignette of almost as if they're sort of like redacted documents that were captured, or almost like dossiers of dialogue between the harvester and feaster.
It's got like and I'm not like the biggest like fan of or not fan, but I don't know a lot about this particular artist, but Genesis P. Orridge. I don't know if either of you have ever heard of it. I've had some friends who were really into her, and she wrote this thing called the Psychic Bible, which is kind of like this weird occult book that, you know, you're reading it, you're not really sure how to take it seriously. I just read it while I was at my friend's house, and it had kind of tones of that to what you wrote, where it's like at some point, like after this civilization is gone, somebody's going to pick this up and they could almost like start a religion. Like, you know what I mean? Like some kind of weird, like not knowing anything about us, you know what I mean? Not knowing anything about America or humanity at this time, but the way it's written, it's not written. It's, you know, it's kind of written in this, the closest thing, the thing that came to mind was the Psychic Bible. There was another thing that was written by the Wachowskis early on for, what was that imprint Marvel used to do. I've recommended it a few times to people on the league. But it's like, it's a Hellraiser book, and it's kind of just like pieced together from all these like sources. So it feels like it's all real, you know, and it feels like it's like these real accounts. And it's almost like when you get to the end of it, it's almost like you're reading like a, like I said, like a religious text. And that's kind of like the organization of it, like the way you kind of ordered it, where it's all like, you know, you have these vignettes, and then like chapter 3 continues, and then, you know, you have like these kind of like different asides and preludes and prologues within it. It almost has like a religious, like kind of religious text, subtext kind of organization to it. Because when you read religious texts, they're always kind of like, they're rarely, if ever, like a clear cut, you know, straight story, even though there might be a narrative within it. So it kind of evoked that kind of thing to me, which was really interesting and different. You know, you do a lot with fonts. You do a lot with fonts, which you don't see a lot in a lot of things you read outside of. So that was kind of like comic books creeping into it, because comic books do a lot of stuff with fonts. So that was really interesting. But yeah, like kind of the unconventional structuring of it. Like I said, like in like 2-3, you know, throughout, you know, however long after we're all gone, somebody bumps into this and is like, my God, what kind of sick like religion are these people into, you know, like, and then, you know, kind of, you know, beginning their own, you know, their own belief system based upon it. It has, you know, that kind of vibe to it. Almost like a, you know, foul religious text, or, you know, something to it where like, oh, these the harvester and the feaster are these gods, you know, and you even meet their god, you know, by the end of it, like their particular entity that they come from or derive from. So, you know, there's a pantheon to it, and there's kind of like you know, the you know, us little people, which is something you get like from mythology a lot, like we're just kind of like pawns in these gods games. And so, yeah, I really could appreciate that. And I thought it wasn't something that I was expecting. When I read the Ash Can, I thought it was just going to be a straight story of like, you know, these people that went on a voyage, this particular crew that went on a voyage, and they encountered these kind of, like, I think the way I described them was like a cross between like Geiger and Barker, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of Hellraiser meets like, you know, the classic kind of Geiger alien. And yeah, so when I got that, I was really like, oh, this is really unexpected. I didn't see that coming at all. So I didn't expect it, you know, again, like I didn't expect the length of it, you know,
How
big the volume
massive.
was. Yeah, how massive the volume was going to be. Like I said, I got about halfway through. And I had to take a little bit of a break. Because my death is like, and it's a very cool. I like Akira, so it reminded me of the whole kind of biomass kind of ballooning and getting. It reminded me of the end of Akira with Tetsuo's death. So I was like, oh, cool. I went out like Tetsuo. That's very cool. That was really unexpected. And like I said, I got about halfway through. I think like my death is like it's getting to the halfway point. So like it was almost like I took a little break for a second, and I came back and I started reading again. But that it is if you're going to call it something, it is an experience. It's an experience that takes a lot of chances and a lot of risks, and it's I could compare it to other things which I have, but it's also very singular. It's a very singular kind of vision, and so I can appreciate that, and I can appreciate that it doesn't because Eric is an independent creator, he takes full advantage of that. You know what I mean? Like he takes full advantage of that in like the presentation, he just sits there and he just breaks a lot of like what they would call rules, and they're not really rules. They're just like things that people do because they think that's what people want to see and hear. You know what I mean? Like, and so he just takes full advantage of that. And it's like, I don't need to necessarily answer to anybody but me. And so I'm going to break all those supposed rules and do something that is singular and, experiential.
Absolutely. But thank you so much, Rick, for being here with us, for sharing.
Awesome.
And it was so good to have you.
This was the second question that Slent said earlier from Denmark. He asked, did the storyboarding and research come naturally to you, or was it a struggle at first? Ooh. And that's a really good question. The storyboarding, talking about the creation of it. So the ash can was pretty quick to produce and to come up with. I conceptualized the idea, worked with Chris, and we put it out there pretty quick. When this started to grow legs, and I knew that it was going to be something more than just kind of like Rift alluded to. He's like, well, I thought this was just going to be like a comic book at first, and then it got bigger and bigger. I had to step back and really outline my vision. So talking about sort of like novel writing 101, I went through the basics. I put together an outline. One thing I'm really fond of, we talked about this the other day, Nita, was I always like to create a character Bible. So I create a document where I have the harvester and feaster, the characters, and I had to start conceptualizing all of these monsters, because I think there's at least a dozen different monsters in here. I forgot the actual count of these monsters. And so each of them needed to have their own special power. They had to have their own look and feel and temperament and theme and reason for being. And so I created this, I call it a character Bible, but for this book, it was a monster Bible, and outlined the story. And the storyboarding and research, it came pretty easily. It wasn't a struggle. His question was it easy or was it a struggle? It wasn't a struggle per se. It was just a labor of love. It was one of those things where you just got to keep going back to the mine and keep hitting it with the pickaxe until you find the gold. So it was a lot of just iterative work. A tentacle monster, a monster that, eviscerates people, a swarm monster, a pack monster, an insect monster, a blob monster, and like coming up with different concepts and then iterating on them and making them each unique and different from anything you've experienced before conceptually. But digging into that well of tropes as well and sieving out the good bits. was part of that process. But when I storyboarded, I had my outline, and my outline was linearly from A to B. It was a pretty simple story, but the outline got progressively larger and larger and multi-layered as I mean, there are parts that I completely had to cut out. I mean, I had a whole like choose your own adventure, go to page 15, read a blurb, turn to page 30 and go back. I had things that I had to weed out because it was just getting too much to manage.
It becomes too much. Yes.
It's like sitting down for Thanksgiving meal. My eyes were much bigger than my stomach. And so my vision got so huge. The struggle was peeling off the pieces and getting rid of all the little tiny loves, because I loved all of it in theory. It was just I had to like pull back. But what you get at the end of the day in this book is still epic in and of itself.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that the storyline is beautiful. And you could would you take the information that didn't make it into this book and perhaps create maybe a sequel or continuation, or do something with that information? Or do you feel like can't be used, we need to move on from that?
So in this fantastic dream of unicorns and rainbows and stardust that I have, suddenly my phone rings or I get a knock at the door and it's, "Hello, we're from Paramount Studios. And we stumbled upon your indie project that nobody told us about because hardly anybody has bought it. And no one even knows it exists. But we found it. And we want to make this into a movie or a series."
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because it's interesting you say that, because this is something that, as I was reading it, and as I was reading the When We Were the Boys prior, I could see this being a film. I can see this being a sci-fi horror. I can see it having multiple movies attached to it. It is a beautiful story with such beautiful graphics and horror, because horror doesn't mean ugly necessarily, right? And I think that you write it in such a way that it can look amazing in a big screen.
I mean, I could see this totally as a movie, or even like as a series, right? Like a 6 or 7 episode series on, like, let's say Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever it's going to be, HBO Max.
And they all watch Sci-Fi Queens, so they're listening.
I mean,
and they're curious, Harry, who doesn't, right?
I'm putting this out into the universe, so the universe hears this, and some like big wig is like, "Oh, I'm gonna go tap into this untapped potential and bring this thing to life." So I bring all these hopes and aspirations of actually finding some sort of commercial success, which is ironic because this book is sort of, in the introduction, is anti-commercial success. It like blatantly says F you to those people, but
exactly.
But still, I'm a human. I would like a little tiny smidge of glory. I'll be honest. It would be fun. Plus, it would just be fun to see like what could be. And to your point, like, would I ever do a sequel, or what would I ever sweep up those shavings off of the floor and use them for another book? I would love to. I could see some of the other ideas that didn't actually make it into the final book would be stuff that I would hand over and be like, let's get this in too, because there's all this other cool stuff that I left
absolutely
out that it'll help pad. Like, and I would love to revisit this story from like from a completely different perspective, because obviously the story has a clear start and end. There are humans, there aren't humans. And but what plays out in between there, and the potential for escape, the potential for humans to still exist in the universe, just like Isabel's character, who gets taken up to the ship, and some of the other characters who find that they are living in a sort of cosmic mausoleum aboard the ship, right? In perpetual torture forever. I could see there being layers to stories whereby which, you maybe get to experience a true on the ground complete invasion story versus just an event. I would have loved to see this story, but it would have been 600, 700 pages, right? It would have been massive. I would have loved to have spent more time with characters like yours, Nita, and just really stay in that POV for a longer experience to really play out all the emotions that your character could have gone through. Exactly. What was your day leading up to that? What were your hopes, aspirations, and dreams? When you were escaping down the stairwell, trying to get out of this building that's slowly coming alive around you and consuming everything. Like, I could have taken that and just stretched that out and really played with how you were really experiencing that, and then going into the subway and trying to escape this apocalypse that's happening around you. And I could see really, I would have loved, just because of my love of storytelling, to really be able to sit with all the characters for longer spells, so that kind of like how in Walking Dead, right, in that TV show, which I know you're a fan of.
Yes, I am.
Each of the characters has an episode where you go back. Like, I think of the episode with Morgan, right? Where you go back with Morgan and you see him like, whittling his staff, or, at the time he spent with his kids before they died and things like that. Like, each of the characters could have a backstory that just pads and shapes this universe in a way that just becomes that much more rewarding.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's the beauty of science
fiction.
Even
though it's an apocalypse tale.
Yes, it's
still that Walking Dead-ism to When We're in the Voyage could very well exist. Even though it ends in a ball of flames, it still going down. It's why we love Titanic stories, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but it's that whole process of getting to that end that people are really interested in. What is the human factor of what's going on? What's happening? What's the development? What's people's reaction to that end of the world dystopia that's going on? And I think that that's something that plays out very beautifully in your books and in your writing, is the ability to give the reader something more concrete, and give them sort of an image in their mind to see the book as they read it. And it really does open it up to so much possibility, but we have another guest coming on that he's here. We're going to bring him on.
It just doesn't end, does it?
It doesn't end. Welcome. How are you doing?
It is a man.
How are we doing, guys? You good?
We're doing great.
You're doing great. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
I don't know, like a dozen people on, so we're just like, woof, it has been a blast and a trip.
Amazing.
Yes.
So
yes.
Here,
it's been a lot of fun so far. And it has been great. Thank you so much for doing this, for taking out time and joining us.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about yourself, including what made you say yes to coming on the podcast? Before we start into the nitty-gritty, everybody's getting that question today, okay?
Yeah, well, Eric just wouldn't let up. He just pestered me.
That's right.
Isn't he really?
I knew that
right?
was coming. Prepare for start level 11.
Yeah, I mean, I first started out as I don't know if Eric said, but I started out as a street artist. So I do like a lot of sort of spray painting. And I do that sort of all around the UK, in Europe and stuff. And yeah, just sort of fell into doing comic works. I've always been really interested in comics. It's definitely been sort of an inspiration on my work, even doing like street art. And yeah, sort of started doing like indie promotional stuff with, you know, like small publishers, and just developed from there really. And I think thinking back, I think I was doing the spawnery, like the where you could put in for a comic book cover for Spawn, and you had to basically, you know, put it, like your designs down for one of their like characters and stuff. I think Eric seen one of my posts on Facebook. We just got talking, and it sort of just developed from there really. And yeah, and we've been together ever since.
That's right, and that's why he is forced to be on the show today.
That's right. That's right. We don't take no for an answer here either. What about this project makes it special for you? What makes it individualized for you?
I think for me, it's like the whole, like from the first thing that I created for this project. So I came on board as one of like the contributing artists, and I created one of the creatures. And it was just so much fun just to let loose. Obviously, Eric gave me you know, like the brief for what he wanted on the page, but then basically just gave me free reign to just go crazy. And it was so nice to have that like sort of freedom just to put down all these things in the back of my mind that have obviously been there and needed to come out. And yeah, I think it's just
did you create multiple characters, or did you focus on one character?
No, we did a whole bunch, didn't we?
Which one is your favorite? Yeah. Which one is your personal favorite that you created?
I don't know. I mean, there's so many, because obviously I came on board as like the one of the artists, and then I became the lead artist. And I think for me, I think we worked together so well over the course of the time of creating this. And Eric would always come to me with like what he wanted on the page, and then I would have license to sort of add my sort of spin to it as well. And yeah, I mean, there's so many. I think for me, I mean, I'm looking at the book now, and the one sort of page that I loved to draw when I was creating it and putting all the effort into it, and that was the chapter 5, Continue Stupid Human, and then right next to it you've got like the whole sort of like city in chaos, and there's so many things going on, and that like scene alone is just incredible. And it was really sort of, you know, I basically just let loose, and we had like sort of, you know, homages to like the Hitchhiker. You know, you can see him in there, and you've got Patrick Bateman holding an axe. It's just incredible. You know, you got like the guy from Clockwork Orange. We just kept going, and yeah, I mean, all throughout this book, I'm sure Eric will tell you as well, it's like an Easter eggs of just. They're
little bits of information. Absolutely. Yeah. When you saw the final product, and you got the book, and you saw your art in the print where it was supposed to be at the end of it all, what were the feelings you got? What were the thoughts that went through your mind seeing your work like that in print? Because this artwork, it's right next to me always. This artwork in here is one of the best artworks I have seen in a comic, in a graphic novel. This artwork is absolutely beautiful. It's vivid. It pops. And for anyone listening who has not yet read this, get your life together. You need to read it. You need to look at this artwork, because the artwork is amazing. It blows my mind how absolutely precise this artwork is. When you saw your work in print like that, how was that?
It was an incredible feeling. I mean, because obviously we were sending emails backwards and forwards. I'd format the images and then send them over to Eric for final approval and stuff. But to see it actually on paper is just, it's something else. It's, you know, and like to sort of have it in front of you. And it's not a small book by any means. There's a lot of pages in there. And, you know, just to go through it and see all the other artists as well, what they contributed to the book. It's just incredible, because we sort of I seen some of the other artwork that was being created
Yeah.
for some of the creatures and things like that. But I think what was really good was that I was sort of kept separate in a way from what they were creating, so that I could put my spin on it rather than trying to sort of match what they were doing. It was, just free reign to go crazy.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Now, did that make it easier for you as an artist to create, or did it pose more challenge?
I think to begin with, because obviously I come from that sort of street art
Mhm.
culture, I'd always sort of drawn things that were really sort of high tempo, like pop, and lots of neon colors, which would be eye catching, as you're walking along, or if you're in a gallery and you see my work up on the wall, it's like really sort of bright, vivid colors, lots going on. And then this is a complete sort of spin round on that. And I think that was just getting the tones right and getting the images of what Eric wanted as well onto the paper. Was to begin with, it was a challenge, and then it just started to flow, and then it just didn't stop.
I think that's really a great point. So Jamie came on at a really interesting time because Chris was he was stepping away to work on another art project and just couldn't commit for the full length and duration of this project. And like Jamie had mentioned, I'd seen his art online and I was like, wow, that's really dope. I love it. It's really cool. I wonder if this guy would be interested. He's in the UK. It's cool. He's got a terrible accent, but I'll deal with it. No, I'm just kidding. I love your accent.
You're so bad.
So jealous. I was like, hey, you interested in this project? It's going to be a commitment though, because I don't want to hire somebody that's going to be a part of this project and walk. That is, and I've run into that issue with in the past, and so you really want to have continuity, and that's probably to Jamie's point that he just mentioned, why I kind of kept him in a silo, because I really loved what I saw in his talent and what attracted me to him right away, and I thought he'd be really interesting collaborator for the book. And so Jamie, I started off, I think you did a monster first. Yes, he did. He did the Carrion Surge monster in Huntington Beach, which we've mentioned many times tonight. He did that. And it was so great because he dropped in the bottom left corner this really cool Easter egg of Ken and Barbie, which, if you remember, the Barbie movie was all rage at the time. And so we're like, let's murder Barbie. And so we threw her and Ken and Barbie into that vignette. And Jamie did such a great job with it. It was so intricate, so detailed. It was exactly what I wanted to see replicated in multiple pages. And so Jamie and I talked, and he was like, all right, I'll give it a go. And then the way that we collaborated was really awesome. Jamie committed to, he's probably got 25 pieces of art in this book, at least, maybe more. I don't even know anymore. A lot. And what was great was Jamie, then the next thing we collaborated on is he was the one that took the characters and really evolved them into what they become. Chris Waterman, incredibly talented artist, had the vision for the first ideas of both the Harvester and the Feaster, but Jamie completely took them and made them his own. Like he understood what, and Jamie and I had countless Facebook, Zoom meetings, whatever they were, just talking through the ideas of what these creatures are, what they're about, what they mean to me, and what I see them becoming and evolving. And he just understood it, and he latched onto it. And he came back to me, and we did these character samples. I think some made it into the back of the book, right?
Yeah.
But he did multiple iterative versions of these character samples, and they just got cooler and cooler and wicked, and they just started to have, like, just through Jamie's art alone, they started to bubble up. They started to have an identity that helped me as a writer evolve them and sculpt them into even more than what they were. And so I was like, Jamie, you got to be lead artist on this. You got to lead the horses, and we'll bring other artists on board to kind of fill in and do, build out our ranks. But Jamie is the lead artist on this entire project all the way through to the end. So his hands are on every single chapter in the book. And what I really loved about collaborating with Jamie was the fact that Jamie understood the vision, and he understood that I was a lunatic, and he also
He took me
knew.
with it. That was it.
And then I just slowly corrupted him and brought him aboard my ship of insanity. He also has a love for the same sort of material and the genres and the decades that I do, and so oftentimes, it would start off. It's kind of funny. I have this, Jamie, you'll remember this. I was going to show this on the camera. So sometimes I would sit down and I would scribble on, I don't know if you can see it. Does it show up if I pull it? So
Yeah, now you can see it.
Okay, so I would start off with a doodle like this, right? On my tablet.
I love it.
And I would be like, okay, here's my idea for the page, right? Or sometimes I would just scribble it on a piece of paper and I'd scan it and I'd send it to Jamie and say, this is like what I'm thinking about. And he's like, well, first off, Eric, your art's terrible. Secondly, I totally get what you're seeing. And then he would take it and like, then I would get a first look back and it would just be like, oh, whoa, awesome. Love it. So I would feed him. I think if I recall our process, Jamie, pretty well, I would feed him a creative brief. So I would give him a one sheet that's like, this is the color palette, this is the direction, this is the images I want to see, and then sometimes I would also then complement that with some doodle, and then Jamie would take it and turn it into something that's just multi-layered, visceral, beautiful. But the best part about it is that Jamie loves Easter eggs just as much as so he would send it back to me and he'd be like, Eric, count the Easter eggs you could find. And I'd be like, WTF? And I'd be like, oh my God, is that Galactus? Is that Skeletor? Is that Alf from the 80s sitcom? Is that Spider-Man? What the hell? How did all these? And he's like, yeah, I put the Predator and E.T. in there so that, I figured we murdered them too. And I was like, this man understands my vision.
Yes.
I always
The
wish
murderous vision.
we'd have kept a record of where they all are, because I completely forgot. I've put them all in there, and even I can't remember where they are.
We didn't. Unfortunately, we didn't. I really wish we had kept a log, because I don't even know how. There's probably over 100 Easter eggs throughout
at least.
Yeah,
on the bigger scenes where stuff's going on, there's a ton.
If you get in there with a magnifying glass, you're gonna find all kinds of just little like 80s, 90s pop references, horror movie references, sci-fi references. You can geek out. It's all in there. It's layered. So it was a blast working with Jamie.
Now, Jamie, do you work with other comic book artists, or is this your first experience with it?
I've worked with sort of different publishers and things like that, where I've created like covers, sort of single shots, or like short run series and that. But again, my main sort of background was doing sort of street art. So I sell a lot of work in like art galleries and things like that. So it'll be like sort of pop art mashed up with like sort of graffiti and things like that.
Yes.
So yeah, this was a complete new venture for me.
Do you see yourself doing more? Because you're amazing. I mean,
thank
I
you.
don't know exactly which one of these are yours, but they are all beautiful. This artwork, they are all beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always down to work with Eric and stuff. I've sort of said that I'm sort of exclusive for Mr. Williamson there now. And,
Stay away, creators.
Yeah. And then I'll just be sort of doing my, street art and stuff like that. Keep the counseling for Eric and
I mean, Jamie is. I could not tap him for Thor, so he's on my Thor project that we talked about earlier. So Jamie's on board right now. He's got 6 pages.
I can't wait to see that
beautiful pages.
Thor.
And he's really supplementing the continuity artist and bringing his expertise, and really just you're going to be you're going to be really stoked to see what Jamie's bringing to the table. And it's fun, kind of, isn't
absolutely.
it, Jamie, to play in a different playground a little bit than
Yeah,
just
definitely.
monsters and gore.
Yes, yeah, 100%. I needed a lie down after like 3
You absolutely did. I mean, this book, once, especially when you read your own death, you definitely need a little lie down for sure. Naps are in order throughout this book.
Oh yeah, you'll definitely see Jamie appear in more collaborations to be sure. I mean, Jamie is just such a pro. He's such an awesome dude to work with. He just gets the vision. He's, you know, one of the things. Jamie is not one of those artists that does not deliver on his word. And I love that. I've had trouble in the past with people, you know, getting things to me on time and, you know, doing what they say they were going to do and backing out and blah, blah, blah. I've been through all the experiences that a creator commissioning art can go through. I've had them all. Jamie's not one of them. He's a pro, top notch, 100%. Like, I know if I hand him a brief, I'm going to get back something that's just, and then if what's also great is that Jamie is so open to constructive feedback and criticism. So if I ever have like a tweak and I'm like, oh, let's make it a little bit like this, he's just like, got it. I'm on it, man. And it's done. And it comes back just fire every time. And so every page, Jamie's in every single chapter of this book. And he's pretty much, if anything doesn't look like continuous, it's not Jamie. Everything in here is Jamie, basically, except for the pages that don't look like Jamie. So that's how you identify which ones are him. All the ones that are in there, just start with, it's Jamie. And then if it doesn't look like anything else, it's not him. But otherwise, it is.
Now, Jamie, do you have an art gallery showing coming up? Something that you want people to know about? So that when are you coming to the States? New York City.
I'm over
We're
there
big with art.
Yeah, I'm over there. It should be November time next year because they've got like a big designer con in Las Vegas. So I'm going to be heading towards that and then doing a little tour. I've got some workshops lined up in Brooklyn as well, doing like street art and stuff. So
that's my stomping ground.
We'll be catching up, Eric, for sure.
When you're in Brooklyn, you need to let me know because I want to go check it out. Absolutely. Yes. I mean, your artwork is beautiful. It's just breathtaking. It truly is. And it's terrifying at the same time. But that's what it's supposed to do, right? You're supposed to be scared of these characters. And if the art doesn't make you feel a little bit afraid, then maybe they didn't quite capture the essence of what was supposed to be done. But it is always wonderful to see art capture what you wanted it to capture. And I love that. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, your work. And I'm so grateful that, you know, you're on here and that you came. And I know the time difference is it's astronomical.
I mean,
so I truly appreciate it.
Let me show this real quick before Jamie.
Yes.
At the back, we have a few extra pages that Jamie did that are not necessarily a narrative story that are just really cool. Like he did this sort of Uncle Sam homage poster featuring the Harvester. He did this really iconic women's suffrage.
Yes, the women's suffrage
with the feaster that is just awesome. Like these are really cool, like promotional material. But then he also did this really cool, and I think you actually have this physically, isn't it? He's got this like spray paint art piece that he did with a black and white version of the Harvester in it. And these are just like extras. And then he did this. I even included this in here, which was really cool. This picture that he did of the feaster that just shows how beautiful his craft could be. I know this is bad on camera, but you know, he just did these really, he just knows how to capture, and that's what's really cool about his street art is he can capture, you know, these beautiful artwork of like Marilyn Monroe or Kurt Cobain or like, other icons of media, and really just utilizing such raw and impromptu materials create art that's just phenomenal.
Oh
And I love
yeah,
it.
absolutely agree.
I mean, because
Yeah.
I
those
think, like,
are
for me as well. One of the things that I took from this project is I draw stuff that catches the eye. Like if I like it, if it interests me, I think other people are going to like it as well. It's going to pop. I mean, like a couple of pages after that street scene, we've got like the Herbert West where he's in the laboratory where he's tearing his own eye out. It's like, you know, I love doing that because again, we sort of come from the same era where, you know, like Reanimator, I grew up with that. Yeah, which says a lot about my upbringing.
So
you know,
broken.
like, yeah, it's incredible. It's been an incredible experience to work with Eric and create this. It's just amazing.
So glad to have you a part of it, sir.
Yes, absolutely. If there was
And it will
one,
haunt you for the rest of your life.
it is. It's gonna haunt all of us for the rest of our lives. Yeah. Now, if there is something, Jamie, that you can ask of Eric, so a question, something that you haven't had the opportunity, or something that you want to say that you haven't had the opportunity to say, what would that be?
It's just, how do you sleep at night, Eric?
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
He's got it all out. It's all on paper now. He's dealt with it. It's gone.
I have exorcised the demons, so now I sleep like a little newborn.
Exactly.
No, it's been amazing.
I'm so glad. Thank you so much for coming on here.
No problem.
But I want you to seriously keep me posted when you are in New York City.
Yeah.
Keep me posted on anything that you've got
100%.
coming up, and I will definitely let people know about it and promote you, even if you're doing it in the UK, wherever.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a
because,
website and stuff. You can buy prints and canvases and T-shirts and stuff.
Oh,
as well.
what is that website? Let us know.
It is boo21customartwork.com.
Wow, how beautiful! And do you limit where you ship, or you ship?
No,
anywhere?
it ships all over the world.
Excellent. That's great to know. I want to make sure that people know about your work because it is truly beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to follow up with you again because we're going to have you on the Sci-Fi Queen podcast with my other two co-hosts, and we're going to be talking about your artwork for sure.
Amazing.
Because we love to talk about anything that sci-fi has had an impact on, and you definitely qualify. But thank you so much for being here.
No worries. Take care, guys.
Okay, good night. Bye-bye. So let's begin. Thank you so much for being here, Leo, for joining us. I'm going to start off with the question I have been asking every single person who's been on here. What made you say yes to this podcast today?
Well, the thing is that pretty much it's because I really love that man, the elder of the opera. So that's my friend, and I want to be there for him and to do something special for the book, obviously, but for the person behind the book. So that's the main reason why, Eric. So I really love his way to perform everything. I mean, from the script to the idea, he start with this design stuff. I like chibi chat with him in every possible hour. So honestly, that's the truth.
So tell me a little bit about because you're the cover. You know, you've got here. You're on here as a very big contributor to this book. This is one of the most impressive covers. I love it. I absolutely love it. Your work is beautiful. What was your inspiration, aside from getting the instruction from, of course, Eric of what he wanted, his vision, but what was your inspiration to take that vision, take those conversations you had with Eric and say, all right, this is what I see, and this is what I'm going to put in paper, and this is what I'm going to create?
Hell of a question.
Okay. Yeah, we start bold here.
Okay. First thing, I have to say that Eric dragged me in speaking about dismantling universe and eating stuff and reconverting everything, mix it up, everything. So I just try to analyze the thing from a different perspective. So if we speak about what is our existence, the main key of everything is DNA.
Yes.
The DNA is spiral, the key of of life and explosion in this universe and everything. So I just try to analyze if maybe the idea to convey all this you tell me about this universe, this crazy journey. The way to convey everything could be dismantle the main DNA of the usual cover design and analyze the thing from another point of view. How we can put this general idea behind the opera inside one single image. I mean, when you do covers, the main trick is that drag people inside without telling too much. That's the two different ways people approach. Sometimes, I see other covers and I just realize that they are telling pretty much everything about the story and why I should buy the book. That's the thing. So the core question is that how I was able to explain everything is inside the book without explain nothing at all. So the idea is that let's go with the DNA, let's go with the main core metrics of life and this mental vortex. That's the thing. It's not easy to analyze it. It's a process,
And when you saw the book and you saw that cover, your work in print, how did you feel about that? What went through your mind?
So first thing is it's huge. It's a huge book. So when Eric sent me my copy, I just take a look and says, okay, that's really massive. It's like 100 billion of comics all together.
Yeah.
And something like this. But in the end, I have to say that, the cool thing is that sometimes when you work with major publishers or established mechanisms behind the industry, you be dragged away because you can do that, you can't do this, go for this, go for that, and you don't have the chance to really control anything. You just need to say, okay, they have their reasons, and I have to go with this kind of solution, even if I don't really feel it, because it's work. With Eric, we found a different conversational approach. We develop ideas and structures in our minds. And then we have, again, a confrontation. We found different prototypes in order to telling pieces, biscuits.
Yes,
no?
absolutely.
And then I just see this one printed and, okay, I say, we were right. In a way, we found a way, the right key for the right keyhole, That's the compensation mechanism is working.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. The feel it's great. I see this huge thing. I say, okay, I need to read it, and I still need to read every single notes, every single particles here and there, because it's really you're like when I listen to music, you have different tracks, you have different layers, I know that I read one layer, two layer, but I really know, I feel that there are many layers beneath just waiting. So I need to wait to find the time to read it, because honestly, it's massive, even in a mindset confrontation status. You have to sit there and at the time to be there with all your perspective, mindfulness. Otherwise, everything steps away from.
I think that's a really good point that Leo just made.
Yes,
I'm gonna
absolutely.
interject so that I don't forget. That's actually a really good point about this. Is just for people that are coming into this podcast now and jumping in. So we're talking about when we were the Voyage. I think that in hindsight, and I think it's a pro, but it's a con as well, is that this book is very confrontational And so to Leo's point of view, and I don't just mean the content is so heavy and dark and scary and all that, but it's confrontational in the respect that it is bold. When you get this book and you receive it, you're like, oh, it's heavy, it's massive. You open it, you flip through it, and you're like, one of the other people on earlier said, that's an F ton of words, right?
Yes.
They're like, that's a fucking lot of words. They're like, whoa, this is, and I think that's what I mean by confrontational, is that this is intimidating in a way. And so to what Leo is saying, the fact of like sitting down and saying, okay, I'm going to read this. The first page, it's just like, okay, you're assaulted with this monstrosity and this dense layering of text. And you're just like, and even the introduction, which I did on purpose, I made it really hard to read, right?
Yes.
Like, it's not, you have to almost get a ruler out and go under the lines, because I did it. I made it purposefully invasive. I mean, you can't even see it once you get, because there's no paragraph breaks, there's no line breaks. It's so, once you get about halfway in here, you lose your place. You can't, it's difficult to even read. So that's like, all of that is intentional. That's part of the design in order to intimidate the reader out of the gate, so that you are immediately put on the defense. You're like, it almost, this is probably, I'm sure most editors in the world would tell me never to do this, but it's like I'm almost putting up a roadblock before you start the story and telling you, don't even read this. It is not worth your time. It is terrible. It is hard. It's going to be difficult. And human beings do not like difficult and hard things. So out of this gate, and that's why I know a lot of people that have gotten this book haven't even begun reading it, because they just get it and they're just like, oh God, put me in. Yikes. But then I think once you get into it and you start to realize that the density is its power and the language is its strength, is then, and once you are able to like shake off that intimidation, domineering sort of roadblock factor to this beast, it becomes a really accessible story. In fact, I go back and I read it, and I think I could probably read the whole book in an hour. I mean, it's very fast paced. It moves. If you allow yourself not to get
intimidated by the visual,
try to. I've had a couple of people ask me, like, how should I read this? Should I like just? I'm like, first off, because one reader, he's one guy emailed me. He said, I started to read it and I had to stop and take a break. And I'm like, dude, just power through. Like, he's like, because I got confused. I saw some mathematic equations on the side, and then I was like, I needed to go solve that puzzle. And then I was like, but then I got back and it was 2 days later and I forgot where I was. So I had to go read it again. And then I got lost again. And then I was like, okay, let me tell you how to read it. Just go. Imagine it's a race. Read it as fast as you can. Just go. Anytime you get to a hard word, or a flowery phrase that kind of trips you up, just blow past it. Just keep going.
Keep going. Yes.
That's
how I read it. I just kept going.
Just go. Just go.
Yes.
Just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward. And the story, what happens, at least to me, is the pace picks up. It gets faster. You start to really be able to move through it.
Yes.
But it's a book that will reward you for spending time with it. If you do stop to smell the roses, or in this version, the skulls.
The skulls, yes, the decay.
If you stop to smell the zombies, you will realize that there's a lot there for you to really get in and just get inside their intestines and crawl around. But but I think that there is, I think you will, if you just power through, you'll get through it and you'll be like, wow, that was a really cool story. That was really dark. It was really deep. It was fun. It was gross. Then you don't have to trip yourself over it.
Exactly.
But that was all part of sort of the design, and kind of through work collaborating with Leo. One of the things I love, so Leo did two things. He not only did the cover, but he also designed and developed the logo and the logo that you see. So Leo and I collaborated very closely. Many late night Facebook conversations at 2:00 in the morning when I'm in my PJs, and because he's in Italy, so it's like
Hey man,
for him, he's like, it's the middle of the day. I'm like, I'm so tired. And we are just chatting along into the night about all the topics in the world, everything but this book. But then when we would talk about it, Leo would really approach it with, he's just truly an artist. Not only is he, you got to go follow him, just him and Jamie both. Go find them on their socials. I'm sure Nita's going to have it linked in all the bottom stuff on YouTube.
Yes.
Go follow him. Leo's and Jamie are both just tremendous talents. But one of the things I really love about working with Leo is that he really understands art theory. He teaches art, not only is an artist. So he really understands like how people approach a cover, where their eyes land, how they read a logo, what font architecture works and why, what's the right color balance and blend, what is going to work with a printer and what is not going to work on a digital printer or offset press or whatever. Like Leo has such a depth of like technical skill. He knows the business.
Yes.
And he knows the technique and history.
Goodbye.
So Leo, this is an amazing piece of artwork you've created. Do you think you would have done something different to it? Are you satisfied with the end result of what you've created?
Yeah, I mean, I see from the first moment that maybe the time to face some tricks, some situation to handle will be our way to arrive to something good. Because I mean, sometimes the number of the pages inside the book can change the spine, so you have to sort a number of things to just make things work together. I mean, graphics, design, space, masses.
Absolutely.
It's not easy, but I mean, I'm pretty satisfied, and because honestly, I think that sometimes ideas needs to be just treated in a different way. I mean, you can think something, but you just need to ask to yourself, it's the best way to think to this thing, or I can just flip my perception, treat myself in a different way, and discover maybe different angles. Sometimes the uncomfortable one are the more rich ones to discover. So sometimes make people in an uncomfortable way with a cover, with a book, with a production. It's the best way to open.
Yes. As a reader, the cover is something that's very drawing to what I choose to read. I know we don't judge a book by its cover, but we are drawn to the book by its cover. And your cover is definitely something that draws people to read. But I want to thank you so much for participating, for coming on here at such late hours for you. And I'm so appreciative of that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Leo.
you. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, what's up? My name is Chris Dripsky, and I'm an illustrator contributing to Eric Williamson's book, We Wrote the Voyage. Me and Eric met at a comic book event about a year and a half ago, and he seemed to like my work, and gave me a lot of great words, and I really appreciated it. And then throughout the next year or so, we would have events, sometimes table right next to each other, and Eric would always tell me about this book that he's doing. And he's like, oh, I'd love to have you contribute. I'd love to have you contribute, if you can. And I was always busy, and I was always doing other projects, or something was happening. So then we finally tabled next to each other at a Halloween event, and he told me about the book again. And then I just kind of let it simmer, and then I finally had some room in my schedule. And then I approached him like the last couple of weeks of the year, 2024, my apologies. And I said, hey man, is there any possibility I can still be a part of your book? And he goes, yeah man, absolutely. So he didn't have to, but he did write me in at the very last moment. So thank you very much, Eric. I appreciate it. Here's actually my spot in the book right here. When Eric approached me, he gave me a whole page of dialogue or a scene of what's going on, and he says, I just want you to interpret this, Chris. So I did the best of my ability, and I just began to draw. I started with a centerpiece, and I just drew around it, and I just kind of let myself go. Then at the very end, I would show him a little bit of progress. He approved. He says, Chris, looks great, just keep doing your thing, and I greatly appreciated that. And then I just kind of went more wild, and then to the point where I finished, and then we got a colorist, and it was done. And the rest is history. I am now published in Eric Williamson's book, We Were the Voyage. So, Eric, thank you very much for letting me be a part of your project. It means a lot.
But thank you so much, Eric, for doing this with me, the gathering of it all.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was so much fun talking to everyone, so much fun hearing everyone's perspective and viewpoints. How are you feeling? I have to do this last minute check-in on you.
I feel great. I feel exhausted. This was definitely a marathon.
Yes, it
This was not a
was.
sprint. And but it was really, like I mentioned at the beginning when I first saw Robert and Richard, or however this gets spliced together. It's really awesome to, for the first time, meet a lot of these people and just to be able to hear their voice and to hear their excitement about the project. And I really love the fact that Tracy came on and just gave us a different point of view. That was really awesome.
Yes, that was good.
It was great, because this work is going to sit with everybody differently. And
exactly.
But I thought that you did a fantastic job. It's always great being on the Sci-Fi Queens, and it was so cool that you put this whole thing together for little old me. I mean, it's nuts. It's like this is kind of like, it's like being on one of those remember those shows like This Is Your Life, or
This
whatever.
Is Your Life. This is your life with this book. Yes.
It's like I felt like, okay, so after this podcast end, they're going to slide me into my coffin and I'm going to go away forever. But it was great just to be able to
I'm
to
so
kind of
glad.
hear some of that feedback, and it'll be really great. I think that this project, the great thing about When We Are the Voyage is that it is it's evergreen, right? I mean, it's a book that hopefully will sit on shelves and people will keep finding it for many years to come. It's not, it has a long life ahead of itself. And, while the audience has been small and well curated at this point, I think there's only opportunity for it to grow and for more people to find themselves. And hopefully people will watch this podcast. Watching this podcast will be interested because we have the hardcover, and then we've made even more affordable, because I know it's a little bit expensive for the hardcover, and there's only a few left. And once those are gone, they're gone. But at least people will be able to get their hands on a nice, affordable paperback. And I made the price point the same as if they were buying a Marvel Epic Collection comic. So that's great that we can continue to let this thing contaminate and ruin
Yes, and ruin the nightmares of everyone who reads them. But I want to thank everyone who's watched this podcast, either straight through or in sections, because it is long. And we appreciate you. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of the guests that came on, and we appreciate Eric here at the Sci-Fi Queens. And we will. honestly, I did this because the book is just so near and dear to me. I love it. I love your work. I love all your work. But you mentioned the Sci-Fi Queens in there.
Oh, yes,
in my
course.
epic death to Stovercore. And I appreciate that. And I wanted to show that appreciation. And I'm glad that this worked out for everyone. But thank you so much, Eric. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Sci-Fi Queens.
Bye, guys. Thank you for watching the Sci-Fi Queens, and be sure to support us on all our social medias and check out our website.